Greetings, everybody. How y'all living? How y'all doing in the world? Let's see here. What, am I gonna do that? I am gonna do that. Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry I'm late. I had to. My mama called me right before I got on this live. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Oh. Well, try. Yeah, I don't know why this is never so easy to find. All right, so hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Let's try it that way. Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm. I gotta set my Bluetooth. Hold on. But I'm up in here. I've been whew, I'm still tired. I've been up since about 4:30 this morning. And it's actually a good time of the day for me. I'm like, man, I should do this more often. This 4:30 in the morning thing because I got so much done, but now I'm tired. I got so much done, but now I'm tired. Okay. Greetings, Goddess Divine 888. Yes, I got so much done. Hey, let's get it poppin', Kalima. Let's go for hecka. Hey, yeah. Let's get it poppin', Kalima. Let's go for hecka. I call upon all the divine ancestors and the ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and all dimensions. Let's get it poppin', Kalima. Let's go for hecka. We the mother's divine children conspire together today to forever by those who have or would harm you. Great mother. We conspire today to destroy everything and everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's get it poppin', Kalima. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's go for hecka. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's get it poppin', Kalima. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's go for hecka. Yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's get it poppin', Kalima. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's go for hecka. Hey, Lavina. Let's see, Lavina, poetess, poetic empress. Peta. Let's go for hecka. 5467. Then Fatal 71. Hey. Yeah. Hey, hey. I needed that because I was sleepy when I got up on here, y'all. I'm telling you, I was like, oh, I'm so sleepy. Woo! Let all souls be sovereign. Let all souls be sovereign, yeah. Hey. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Hey. I'll tell you in a minute, Lavina, poetic empress of our mothers. Weavers we ride all time. We the weavers of all the lives. Today we our mother's children. On the winds of change. Ooh. Oh. All our enemies be dying. Oh, yeah. Kundalini just be winding. Oh. Oh, yeah. We the weavers be writing. Oh. All our enemies be dying. Oh, yeah. Kundalini just be winding. Oh. We conjure the primordial dark. Selling the sacred difference deep from within the earth. We subdue the road sun. We control the light. We heal the harm. Delve in the fearful way and still courageous action. Oh yeah, hey. Oh, all our enemies be dying. Oh yeah. Oh, oh yeah. We the weavers be rising. Oh, all our enemies be dying. Oh yeah. Kundalini just be winding. Oh, them say Kalima be rising. Oh yeah. Hey. We the weavers be rising. I see you, Goddess Divine. All our enemies be dying. Oh yeah. Kundalini just be winding. Oh, them say Kalima be rising. Oh yeah. We the weavers be rising. Oh, all our enemies be dying. Oh yeah. Kundalini just be rising. Oh. Hey. And I'm glad I did that. I needed that little shot in the arm, baby. Okay. All right. So let me put my shit together. You feel me? Greetings, everybody. Hope the little. Whoop. Oh, my bad. Mommy and I want E-I-M-E-I-J. Future now is one E-I-M-E-I-J. Mommy and I want me E-I-M-E-I-J. Hear our freedom song. Okay, so the music, I still got. I know y'all been asking me about the music for so long. I got to get y'all the music. All of the music is just different versions of the conspiracy. Everything you just heard, every single song I've ever played is just different versions of the global conspiracy to right all wrongs. Every single one. And that those mixes come to us from Brother Power Kismet, who never be up on here on time, so he never hear me give to him the shout out. I got this big old rise on my face. You never hear me give him the shout out. You feel me? And so, but anyway, that's who did it. Power Kismet. And so all he did was use he basically what he told me was he used AI to like come up with the different versions. Like he would put the lyrics into the program and then choose like what style he wanted it in and shit. And then it would just, like find it, you can choose. Do you want a female vocalist? Do you want a male vocalist? Whatever. And that's how he did it. Give me a second. Give me 2.2 seconds. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and play y'all another song while I am taking this second. I need to take a second. Yeah, give me a second. Oh, man.
Divine retribution, divine rectification, evolutionary justice. Mommy and I are one. We are the light. We are the beauty. Kalima. We are the yummy. Execute us our will. We are the hands of divine time.
So we weird.
Are the weavers of heaven on earth under the mother's divine ray. Sacred coming from the deep to ignite us in all sacredness. We are the faith. We are the fury. We are the yummy. Love unlimited is our birthright. Harmony is our birthright. Ecstasy is our birthright. Freedom is our birthright. This is her divine will and executors of her will. We are the fury. We are the executors of her will. We speak her will into this moment to ring and rhyme through all of time and every space in all dimensions. It's forever as we say, Mommy and I are one. We are the family. We are the fury. We are the yummy executors of her will. We are the family. We are the fury. We are the yummy executors of her will. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
We are the breakers of curses, the casters of glorious conspiracies, and the creators of the new world. I am a divine instrument of my mother's divine will as such. I am protected and guided by the sacred blood and water of my mother's body that anointed my entry into this life. I am divine because she is divine.
I call all of our mothers to this moment. I call on she who governs everything, all time and every space in between. She with 1,000 names today. Oh yeah, the ushers of the new age. I call upon all the divine ancestors and the ash of every mother on earth to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. We the mother divine children can fight together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. We conspire together today to destroy everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair.
Today, we embody the sacred and divine power of our mothers.
Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite all time. We the tree, we the weavers, rewrite the book of life.
We are mothers' children, call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent deep from within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harmed. We embolden the fearful. We instill courage. Today, we are staging a global evolution, as is our mother's divine will. Emphatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of hate and harm erected by the Godheads of war.
Yeah.
We have the power.
I had to do something about that. That hurt.
Of change. We give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. We can one come the wind, come the storm,
Yes.
come the lightning, capture all Godheads of war and all betrayals of the mother's divine will.
Bring them in the confusion and want to one end. Resurrect.
This is the time of recline and reclamation and the restoration of heaven and of the mother's divine.
Hey, love unlimited is our destiny. Is our destiny, freedom is our destiny. This is her divine will. We are the divine executors of her will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate throughout time, all space and all dimensions. It is as we say forever and ever. Mommy and I are one. All right, now I got my life together. Chad, I got my face together. You feel me? Let me pull this little phone thing together and we'll get started. Hoping everybody is well. Hope you navigating crazy relatively all right. So much has happened in the 10 days, Chad. Java Watson sent me an old ugly email. Sent me an old ugly email this morning or a comment or something talking about 10 days. Cassandra, 10 days. I was like, all right, let me not procrastinate no longer. God damn. I didn't even realize it had been that long, but okay. So anyway, thank y'all for keeping me honest. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. You gotta be kidding. My phone don't never ring. Don't never ring. Don't never ring. Hold on. Let me, I ain't gonna answer, but let me just send her text real quick. God dog it. When I tell you don't never ring, let me just text her really quick. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So the artist channel's name is Kaz, Khaz space Mojo, Mojo. Khaz Mojo. So that's the brother who did the music for us with the conspiracy, the global conspiracy to right all wrong. And right now, I think he has about 7 versions of the conspiracy up on the channel. I'm still trying to get my my Bandcamp together so I can post it on Bandcamp and y'all can just download it from there. But in the meantime, Khaz Mojo, Mojo. All right. So we're going to get started because I have things to do today. And we are going to take a minute to do the global conspiracy to right all wrongs. I mean, we just listened to it about 4 times, but we still going to say it. For those of you who have it, pull out your conspiracy, pull out your little shaker ray, your little noise maker, whatever you use. And let's go. We are the breakers of curses, the casters of glorious conspiracies, and the creators of the new world. I, Cassandra Faye Floyd, am a divine instrument of my mother's divine will. As such, I am protected and guided by the sacred blood and water of my mother, Jacqueline Jeanette Cook's body that anointed my entry into this life. I am divine because she is divine. Mommy and I are one. I call all of our mothers to this moment. I call on they who govern everything, all time and every space in between. She with 10,000 names. Today it is Oya, Yamaya, Oshun, Iyami Ajay. The divine architects of existence, usheresses of the new age, Mommy and I are one. I call upon all the divine ancestors and the ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. Mommy and I are one. We, the mother's divine children, conspire together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. Mommy and I are one. We conspire together today to destroy everything and everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Mommy and I are one. Today, we embody the sacred and divine power of our mothers. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite all time. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite the book of life. Today, we our mother's children call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent deep from within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harm. We embolden the fearful. We instill courageous action. Today, we are staging a global evolution as is our mother's divine will. Mommy and I are one. We, the architects of the new age, now create the new institutions, the new traditions, the new culture, the new ways of being. We ecstatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of hate and harm erected by the godheads of war. Mommy and I are one. We have the power. We have the voice. We are the portals of change. Now we employ our sacred breath and we give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. Mommy and I are one. We command, come the wind, come the storm, come the lightning, capture and judge all godheads of war and all betrayers of the mother's divine will. Bring their confusion and war to an immediate end. Scatter them to oblivion, never to be resurrected. We are the fates. We are the furies. We are the EvoEmeTemp. We are the disseminators of divine time, divine retribution, divine rectification, and evolutionary justice. Mommy and I are one. We are the restorers of heaven on earth under the mother's divine reign. We wake the sacred serpent from her sleep to assist us in this sacred assignment. Mommy and I are one. Love unlimited is our birthright. Harmony is our birthright. Ecstasy is our birthright. Pleasure is our birthright. Freedom is our birthright. This is her divine will, and we are the divine executors of her will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate throughout all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is certainly as we say, forever and ever, Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. All right. All right. Listen, I got a lot to share with you. Do not think that because I have not been live for 10 days that I have not been intending to go live every single solitary one of those 10 days. I have sat at this computer, I'm telling you, for the last 5, maybe 6 days easily with every intention of going live. And then I say, okay, I'm just going to do a little research on this thing here for this live. And 6 hours will pass, child. I'm not joking. 6 hours will pass. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning and I still have not done that live. And I got 40 something tabs open going back and forth. So this morning when I got up at 4 o'clock this morning, I said, I'm going to create this live. I'm going to create the link for the live before I do anything. Because if I open up a single tab, it's going to be wormhole time. So I didn't open up a single tab, put on the live, and then had to start like strategically closing. I'm not joking. When I say 40 tabs, I said I should take a screenshot. I should take a screenshot of how many goddamn tabs I have had open for the last 3 or 4 days. But anyway, so let me just go ahead and cut to the chase because there's going to be like an introduction. I'm probably going to do another live a little later tonight, but I at least wanted to do an hour-ish before I go to do the things I got to get done during the business day. Okay. So first, let me tell you why the title. Oh, thank you, Dominique. Oh, wait, you know what? I think somebody sent me some money. And y'all are welcome to send me money. Y'all show are. I will appreciate you for it. Thank you, Java Watson. Java Watson be kicking my ass. I got up this morning. That girl had commented on the damn video. She was like, 10 days. 10 days for real though, Cassandra? No, she said Dr. Cassandra. She said 10 days for real though, Dr. Cassandra? So I was like, all right, for motherfucking certain, let me get up on here 2 days so they don't think I am MIA. All right? Okay. this thing that I want to talk to y'all about today, like I said, I'm only going to do an hour because I'm not going to miss lunch. All right. So I'm going to get up off here, go to my old people lunch, come back, and probably go ahead and do another live, or it might, no, because I have a 2:00 meeting. So it'll be a little later. Maybe I'll schedule around 5:00 this afternoon. I am going to do another live today because this topic, let me tell you, I had a fucking breakthrough. And I didn't want to be premature in the breakthrough, and that's why it's taken so long. I didn't want to be premature. But you know how I've been saying, we've been talking about Saturn a lot and for a long time, period, but specifically since December 21st. Since the solstice, we've been going ham on the planet Saturn, on the iconography, on the theft of her essence in the world. You feel me? And I said, there's so much I need to be doing, but I feel so close. Like, I hope I can express it well enough. When I had been saying for weeks, I feel so close. And even as my world was turning topsy-turvy, going to core, all kind of crazy shit, you feel me? I was like, okay, I know this is all like trying to get me off my square. I'm about to have a motherfucking breakthrough. I can feel it. I am so close. I can feel it, right? Baby, I had a fucking breakthrough this week, and I didn't want to rush it. I didn't want to be premature, but baby, ooh, I feel like if people can, because the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to have y'all in the weeds either. You feel me? I go in the weeds so y'all don't have to go in the weeds. You feel me? Because I feel like there are a lot of people in an attempt to understand what's happening in the world. They make it way more complicated than it needs to be. And so people will be all over the place, baby. I just saw this little girl. She cute. She cute. And I watched her little video about 4-5 times. I'm a sharp dude. You feel me? I'm a sharp dude. But I was like, babe, if you can't simplify, because what she was saying, I get the essence of it. I get the essence. But that shit was so deep, it was dysfunctional. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I get it. She was trying to keep it swagadocious, you feel me? But it, personally, she missed the mark, man, because like, look, motherfuckers are out here trying to live. People are trying to survive. People are trying to survive in the midst of absolute, utter chaos, confusion, brigandage, all of that shit. People don't need fucking more mysteries, man. That's what's got us in this problem in the first place. People do not need more mysteries. Make this shit plain, bitch. Keep it simple. Make it plain. Keep it simple. Arm people. And you can't arm people if your ass is trying to keep secrets or create more mystery to make you feel, sound sharp or some shit. Fuck that. We don't need that shit. We don't need that shit, man. It's what's got us in the quagmire that we are in. Unable to make a connection to anything that can help transform our skull instantly, collectively. Baby, we don't need superheroes. We do not need no superheroes. We do not need no gurus, no shamans. We don't need no cult leaders. We don't need none of that shit. We need an instantaneous global fucking breakthrough that passes through this motherfucker, just like that mythological story they told you in the Old Testament, how in the twinkling of an eye, the angel of death came and killed all the babies and shit. We need exactly that in the opposite. We need a swift, twinkling angel of life, angel of breakthrough to sweep through the whole goddamn globe so we can purge this shit once and for all. And so all of this deep diving I've been doing, all these hundreds of pages, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of pages of notes scattered all over the goddamn house, trying to keep some organization so I don't forget what breakthrough I'm moving from to and shit. So I do this shit so you do not have to. And I'm going to reiterate one more thing. Please do not allow for my channel to be one of those channels that you just come to when you feel lost and shit and you just need to feel good for today. That ain't this. That ain't this. Don't lay up on my shit, information hoarding. Don't do that. If you don't intend to use it, go on somewhere else. Go there. What is it? A million? You know what I'm saying? 120 trillion goddamn YouTube channels. Go on somewhere else. There are 1,000 different channels that's got some channel somewhat closely related to what it is I got going on. And if you just interested in feeling good, and there's nothing wrong with that, this ain't the place. If you just need to get a break from the bullshit and the news, and this ain't it. This ain't that. Because I am up in this motherfucker studying like an insane person. Like I'm getting paid to study. You feel me? Because baby, we are on the brink. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Every single solitary person on earth, even as they are evading the feeling, baby. All that bullshit with Coachella last week, that's evasion. That's evasion. And the shit is so deep. The crisis is so deep that people will pay $1,500, $3,400 to evade. Evasion ain't gonna get us no motherfucking where but deeper in bullshit. That's evasion. Festivals and concerts and this and that and this and that. We got to shut this motherfucker down is what we got to do. We got to pump the brakes on this whole bitch. But the thing that is going to allow us once and for all to do that is a clear-minded understanding of how the fuck we got here in the first place. How does the world look like it looks right now? How do we get here? Because if we are honest about how we got here, bitch, we can change this shit and we can change it quick. I'm telling you, man, if we recognize, if we accept, if we come to a singular conclusion about how we got here, that don't mean that the singular conclusion doesn't have many freaking roads that led to it. But this is the moment. How do we get here? Honestly, I just saw this video the sister did yesterday, and this girl is in a master's program. Child, I was like, Lord. Woo! I sat here listening to this whole video, y'all, dismayed and bewildered, because these monstrous motherfuckers have done an excellent job. This shit we need to be studying. These motherfuckers have done an excellent job strategically over a long period of time to teach us, to walk us away from, even with an 8th grade understanding, education, being able to have a clear analysis. We can't do that. This baby is in her master's program, talking about how she writing her thesis, or she just wrote her thesis on, what was she talking about? Oh, what was she talking about? She was, I forget. It was something about Black women's psychology. It was about something about the peculiar presentation of Black women's psychological, whatever the fuck. I don't remember the content of the thesis. But when she started reading the first part of her thesis, child, I said, no, I know this ain't where we at. Not no master's program. She said, what were they talking about? Oh, it was like, I'm so close. But anyway, regardless, she was talking about this particular peculiar emotional safety, this like, it's a safety mechanism for Black women that we developed as a consequence of slavery. That was basically her thesis, was like, it was basically like the reason right now today Black women are always so gung-ho to care for everybody, to show up for everybody, to protect everybody, to do all things for everybody, is because the more that we could do as enslaved people, the safer we were. You feel me? Like, we could keep somebody from stomping us out or whatever, like whatever, you know what I'm saying? She was saying that this thing that now does not function as a safety mechanism. It makes us sick. It shortens our life expectancy, this, that, and this, and that, and this, and that, right? now we need to be having different discourse about how to move out of this tendency that we have as Black women. And then she said, with confidence, the beginning, this is a quote, the origin of, the beginning of this thing that we're talking about that is peculiar to Black women was slavery. I said, pump the brakes. What? Really? Pump the brakes, man. Pump the brakes. What the fuck do you mean that the origin of what is confounding us as Black women in this monstrous motherfucker right here, the origin is slavery. Did Black women just not exist before slavery? Did Black women just not have any peculiar issues whatsoever before we arrived the fuck up over here? Has anybody ever even stopped to ask the question? Like, with all of this history, relatively recent history that we know about the world, about the whole world, does nobody find it interesting that you have to grasp at straws to find little pieces, little slivers, little splinters of information about the millions of Black women that existed everywhere? Like, what, did we just not exist in history? Like, before here, you feel, did we just not exist nowhere in history? You know what I'm saying? It blows my mind, because even now, every day I'm learning something new about some Black woman that I didn't know before. And even when we talk about African history, every now and again, you'll pull out some Black woman name, you feel me, here and there, to and fro. But 99.9% of the history that we know that is, quote, African history is Black male history. And don't nobody ask the question, one, where these men came from, like who their mama is. You understand? Where their mama was while they was doing all, who was what's his name? What's his name? Oh man. I just drew a blank. Try. Anyway, who they was, who their mama was. How did what was his name? Mansa Musa. Who was Mansa Musa mama? Like how was he so genius? What were his foundational years made up of off of? Who titties did he swing off of for 4 years? Because on average, people around the world breastfed for 3 to 4 years. So who titties did he swing off of? Whose magical manna did he consume for the first 4 years of his life? Who was his teacher for the first several years of his existence that contributed to the genius that he was, the strategist that he was, the genius that he was, this, that, and this? We can't do that. We can't keep doing that. I get it. Slavery is something that we are going to have to reckon with. Yes. Slavery in its peculiar personification here in the United States and in the Western Hemisphere, yes, it is something that we're going to have to reckon with. But we have to reckon with the world. The whole world has a history, a singular history that has gotten us to this moment, a singular history that is monstrously diabolical and has been for quite some time. And that history prior to slavery is what contributed to and gave rise to the certain outcome that would be slavery. And to keep making, we here in the United States, to keep making slavery the be all to end all, as if we didn't have a history, if we didn't have a historical relationship to others around us, around the world. Do you understand? To act that way, we will forever miss the boat, and we will forever let these motherfuckers run us into the ground, run us into circles, convincing us that everything is the issue but the issue. Let me tell you what the hell, okay? We have to do this, man. It is going, if we let it, it will be uncomfortable, because we hang all hats on quote, the belief that the starting point of our misery and our suffering was right here. We hang our hats on it. We bank our lives on it. Shit. We bank our lives on it. But baby, we are not going to change the world that way. We are not. And let me just tell you, the breakthroughs that I've been having, it's like so profound. Because once you see it, it's like clearly simple. But I'm going to tell you why it's going to make y'all uncomfortable. Because our enemy, our adversary has done a really efficient job, a really, really excellent job at doing exactly every I dotted, every T crossed, every grain of sand analyzed to account for it. And y'all don't want to accept that because we enjoy in our heart chakras and accept that mediocrity is the order of the day, that every white person is dumb as a box of rocks and drowning in mediocrity. And if we just do X, Y, and Z, you feel me, we can expose their mediocrity, you feel me, whatever. Listen, it started, I have been really obsessing. That's why I haven't been on here very long. I haven't been on here in about 10 days because I told you I've sat here literally last night when I went to sleep after being up on here, because yesterday I was like, today is Sunday, I'm definitely gonna do a live today. And I sat at this computer at 2:00 in the afternoon and got up to drink something. I got up to eat something. I got up to use the bathroom. And I sat at this goddamn laptop. I think I finally went to sleep at 2:00 in the morning and got up at 4:30. It's been like that every single solitary day, trying to say, okay, what is the most important thing to bring out first? How do I organize this in a way that they can see clearly? The line of connection is so clear. It's so clear. And so I'm just going to throw some things out and then I will organize it more later. But I feel like if I just go ahead, get started, throw the shit out, you feel me? Even if y'all want to email me, if you make a comment in my comment section that is like profound, you feel me? That is useful and profound. I'm not going to be doing a lot of responding to the comment section today because I'm on a time budget. You feel me? But put it in the comment section anyway, but make sure you email me your contributions. I'm not going to work this shit out by myself. Okay. I done did a lot of the goddamn legwork, but we got to make this shit clear and we got to do it. We got to do it in a way that's sexy and clear and concise so people can have this breakthrough. It ain't nothing that's happened to me, that any kind of epiphany, breakthrough, ain't nothing that's happened to me beyond the comprehension of anybody existing on the planet. I'm telling you, there's a way that we can teach this shit to babies and they'll be like, this makes sense. How can we participate? I'm trying to tell you. So first of all, let me tell you why I called. I'm sure you could not understand why I named the live what I named the live. I called the live Finem, Cultus, Solis, Invicti, Nunc, Salutamus. Finem, Cultus, Solis, Invicti, Nunc, Salutamus. This is Latin, okay? Now, the reason that I did that is because for the last 4 days, I had been obsessing about this idea of and the wiry webs. Woo! The wiry webs, baby, goddamn. And I don't even remember how it started. But the wiry webs fucked me up, child. It really fucked me up. Because when I say these motherfuckers ain't left no stone unturned, listen. So this title that I gave the live was in response to this concept, supposedly this immediate pre-papal Rome concept. So time, I'm always talking about how time has been split. And this is what we have to reconcile. There is a clear moment that we know. That's why we did the global conspiracy to right all wrongs last May 20th, all the way through August 25th, was to reconcile and to attempt to undo what had happened exactly 1700 years ago, the year 325 AD, when Constantine, when Constantine called the Council of Nicaea after having some kind of motherfucking epiphany on the battlefield, and that he was no longer going to be a pagan, he was going to be the chief Christian in the world, and his Christianity was going to be backed up by the state. His Christianity was going to be imposed and enforced by the state. The first time in history that a state institution consecrated as a part of the state a global religion. All right. And as a part of the process of doing that, to create confusion between those that had existed in pagan Rome that is now being transformed into papal Rome, and those that would come on down the line over the next couple of decades, to split time, to divide time. So one of the processes that had to happen behind closed doors for 3 months in the year 325 AD was they had to have some dude who was a part of a cult. He was still a Christian, but he was a part of a cult. He was a part of the Dionysian cult, the mystery schools, right? And so he told Dionysus Exeges, you feel me? I'm going to need you. See, we all going, it was like 318 men. We all going to go over here and this and that and this and that and this and that. We going to discuss, remove, add to, this and that and this and that, right? What I want you to do the whole 3 months is you need to rectify time. That's what he said. Dionysus Exeges wrote a book called The Reckoning of Time. His whole assignment was to reckon Easter. I said, why would Easter be so important that he got to be by himself for 3 months behind closed doors, trying to, quote, reconcile, to reckon when Easter would occur for the new Christian empire that did not correspond with, obviously, like in the lay person's life, that would not correspond with the Passover of the Jews, who were many in the Roman Empire. They were many. How do we make a clear distinction between how we determine what Easter is and what Passover is? Because we do not want people to draw no connection between us and these Hebrews. Okay? So Dionysus Exeges, y'all, to give you, I want y'all to hear everything that I'm saying. All right. Just to give you an example of what can be produced when you are freed up to allow genius unbridled to just spill out all over the place. This motherfucker wrote a 1,200-page book in 3 months. Yes, he did. The Reckoning of Time by Dionysus Exeges is 1,200 pages. What could you possibly be talking about for 1,200 pages just to reconcile, just to rectify spring so it don't correspond with the Passover? Y'all ain't heard what I'm talking about. Y'all ain't hearing me, and I'm telling you it's important. I'm telling you it is important. I am telling you that this first major dissection, division, split between the past and what would be the future. That's what they did. That it is at least the most immediate starting point for how we got to this moment. This motherfucker wrote a 1,200-page book in 3 months, all under the auspice of, quote, reckoning the how spring is calculated and making sure that it does not immediately correspond or seem to have no relationship to the Hebrew Passover. Why is that? Why was that necessary? Huh? Who were Christians? Who were Christians at this period where Constantine, just 3 years prior with the Edict of Milan, had finally stopped executing Christians? Because up until, 318? So 318, he does the Edict of Milan and says, okay, we ain't gonna, we no more circus, because that's what they called it, man. And you act like this ain't happening to your life right goddamn now. What they called, what was happening up until 318 was the bread and circus. That's what they called it. They called it was a political strategy by the Roman Empire. The bread and circus. What was bread and circus? It was snacks. It was snacks, and it was them going into the stadiums, going into the coliseums, watching people fight the lions and get eat up by the lions. That's what they called it. Because they were spread so thin. So much shit was happening all over the empire. And to keep the masses of people who could destabilize the whole shit preoccupied while these motherfuckers was trying to reconsolidate and maintain a stranglehold over empire, that's when they started feeding the so-called Christians to the goddamn to the lions and shit in the Coliseum. They called it the bread and the circus. I just read this shit this week. The bread and circus. Keep them preoccupied. They all starving and shit. Give them a few snacks for the circus, and then bring all the bad guys, put them in the middle, and let them fight the lions and the leopards and shit. I was sitting here reading this shit. I said, "Goddamn, man." So anyway, so that's happening. But people keep, even my sister in the Christian church, you know, when they talk about, quote, great past heroes of the Christian church and shit, Constantine the First is one of them. Constantine the Great is one of them. And they will tell this story to this day. Black chocolate ass Christians will tell the story about how Constantine was a pagan. And he had an epiphany on the battlefield. And while he was on the battlefield, he saw one of the flags flying. And on the flag, he had a vision in the midst of blood and brigandage. And on the flag, he saw the cross. And when he got done with battle, that's when he made the declaration that he too was now a Christian, because the Lord, or the God of the Christians, came to him on the battlefield. This is what these Christians will tell the story as. The other people, the other motherfucker they hold up real big is what's his name? Martin Luther. Diabolical, monstrous human being that he was. Monstrous. And they will tell some glorified story about this wicked. He was a harbinger of another division. Listen. Constantine say, look, if he was plotting, bitch, he ain't had no epiphany on the battlefield. He's like, we can't keep doing this. You know what I'm saying? We cannot maintain a stranglehold on power. On what power? Rome at that time was said to be the center of the world. All roads lead to Rome. Rome was the first, quote, empire for which the sun never set. Do you know what that meant? Listen, y'all, I'm trying to give y'all so much in a little bit of time. Do y'all know what that meant? Because they ain't the only people. Rome was the empire for which the sun never set. Japan at one time had been an empire for which the sun had never set. China at one time had declared under the Yellow Emperor, this is an empire for which the sun never sets. Britain, Great Britain, for the longest time, hell, for the longest time, Britain is the empire of the world for which the sun never sets. I was asking myself on this dive that I'm doing. I was like, why they all say that? Why do they all say that? Why do they all declare that? I said, why they do that? You know what I'm saying? What that means is, especially when Constantine made the declaration, what it meant was that of the known world at that time, because the Americas had not been discovered, right? The known world at that time, Rome owned it all. Rome had staged these contests all over the known fucking world. All of Europe had been successfully conquered. Most of Eastern Asia had been successfully conquered. India conquered. South Asia conquered. Africa, all the way down to the bottom of Ethiopia, had been conquered by Rome. Egypt had long been entered its Ptolemy phase, where all the black people had been. There was no longer any black pharaohs and none of that shit. It was all all Romans, started with the Greeks, and then Rome first the Persians, then the Greeks, and then Rome had conquered all of Egypt. So when I say that all roads lead to Rome, this isn't hyperbole. That was literally everything of value, everything that represented wealth. All the roads were one directional, bitch. A percentage of everything coming out of Egypt is gonna come straight here. A percentage of everything coming out of Africa all the way down to Ethiopia is coming here. Everything that's from the Middle East and what y'all call it was Constantinople at the time, Turkey, all these places, Persia, all other Middle East had been conquered by Rome. And so Constantine had a problem because there were sects of people, religious sects of people. Their religion gave them the fuel and the confidence to be staging these rebellions against Constantine every fucking where. And it was like a ship with a million holes in it. How in the hell am I going to keep a handle on goddamn what's happening in all of Africa if I can't even stabilize the center? You understand what I'm saying? How am I going to get a grip on all of these Europeans that are constantly trying to irritate the wound? Constantly, the Gauls, the Vandals, all these people that you was told was bad guys back in the day, the Gauls, the Vandals, the Barbers, all of them was constantly, they did not take colonization sitting down, and they damn sure didn't take it easily. They was always trying to stage a contest. They would win some, they would lose some. But they ain't never stopped disrupting the shit. And Constantine economically was spread thin. And militarily he was spread thin. And listen to me right now. Everything that amounted to wealth, every ounce of grain, they were talking, I was reading today, man, about how Rome was constantly having a problem because of so-called grain wars, where the majority of that which was being produced by the poorest people in the kingdom were going straight to the military, and the people were living off what they call it, rations. Here they are producing all the food in the goddamn empire. They get rations of what they produce that's barely keeping them alive, while the majority of the grain was feeding this military that was spread too thin to maintain the empire. That's what was happening. That's what was happening. And so Constantine, at war, at another war, again, is on the battlefield. He's like, look, this shit too much. I got to be going about this the wrong way. So I need an epiphany on how I can maintain the empire, how I can not only maintain the empire, because brute force ain't getting it done. Do you hear what I'm telling you? He said brute force ain't getting it done. Me feeding people to the lions and shit, this damn bread and circuitry, that shit ain't doing it neither. People ain't entertained enough to keep the peace. I got to have something deeper. I got to have an epiphany. I'm not thinking about this strategically. You feel me? What can I do to quell rebellion? That's what he did when he so-called had the goddamn epiphany on the battlefield, that all of a sudden, in the midst of blood up to his goddamn knees, his ass is going to be the chief Christian. And y'all and Christians to this day will continue to tell the story completely separate, completely severed from the strategically political beneficial impact that quote Constantine becoming a Christian had for the empire and the maintenance of the empire. They will still feed you this bullshit like spirituality, like religion it's been separate for a long time now. When you can look every fucking where, if you open your eyes and see ritual being executed in your fucking face all day, every day. I took my homeboys, said, come have dinner with me. I was like, all right. I said, today, since I'm leaving my house finally, let me open up my phone. From my house to his house out near the beach. from my house to his house. I'm just going to take a picture of everything that I see, whether it's on the road, whether it's on a building, whatever, that looks like in your face, butt naked, fucking ritual. It's the greatest trick ever played on us to have us believe, despite what our own eyes are telling us, that they are not continuing to use the most effective weapon they have ever had, which is religion. Religion is the most effective weapon they have ever had to their disposal to pacify, to get you off your square, to act what your Bible say, that you will see with your own two eyes something, and your brain will convince you of something else. But you'll see it right there, butt naked in your face. I took pictures driving from my house to the homie house, which is about a 30-minute drive, 45-minute drive from my house to the homie house. I took 16 fucking pictures of billboards. Don't even get me started. Oh my God. Don't even get me started. So let me just tell you about your Constantine. That to me, right now, is the most immediate starting point. Okay? The most immediate starting point is what? Hell yeah, I still need a scribe. Ken's color box. Why y'all play so much? I'm like, why ain't nobody help me write my book yet? I got, 800 and something goddamn videos up on here that already is about 16 books. I'm gonna need y'all to start all these comments y'all be leaving in my comment section, which I love, feel me, which I appreciate, which I listen to every single one. Y'all send me some dope ass comments. Y'all send me some dope ass timestamps this week. Let me digress. Y'all send me some dope ass, so currently relevant, I'm up in here mind blown timestamps from videos I did 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Why don't we have a book yet for the temple? Why we don't have a book yet? You feel me? So anyway, so let me just tell you, because it is not like, okay, so Constantine, quote the great, Constantine the First, right? He was the one that split time. That even when we were growing up Christians, the kind of Christians we were, my dad used to talk to us about this all the time as little kids. Of course, it didn't make no sense when we was little kids, but let me just tell you, I was like, thank the whole universe that my father was who he was. Even though he was a hardcore, zealot ass Christian, the shit that he taught us that we would never hear in any church was what I needed at this moment. He used to teach us all the time about the reason we don't celebrate any holidays is because all of these holidays are pagan holidays. You feel me? That's what does a rabbit and eggs have to do with Jesus' resurrection? He would tell us all, what do trees with lights on it and presents have to do with the birth of Jesus? My dad was a zealot, okay? And so that was the justification, the explanation that he would give to us when we, unlike all the other kids, could not have no Christmas presents, or when we could not have no, or when we could not go to Halloween, whatever, right? And the reason that is so important now is because on this whole other arc, all of this shit is flooding back that my dad used to teach us. I'm telling you, as young as me being 5 years old, telling us about how the Catholic Church, and a lot of Southern Christians believe this, by the way, the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon, and this and that, and this and that, and whatever, right? It was some slide of hand shit, you feel me? But it is all based on this monumental moment in, quote, modern history, when the emperor of a pagan country, a devoutly pagan pagan country, so much so for so long, because Rome in its pre-quote AD phase, Rome, it is believed that Rome was founded in the year 509 BC. 509 BC. So Rome had already had a thriving epoch of existence as first the Republic, and then under Romulus, who is supposedly the founder of Rome, and it went from a republic to an empire. This too is important for us to know right now today, but I won't talk about it today. I will give y'all another day or something like that. But it is important, this transition from the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. It is important. So anyway, Constantine Constantine, he is the ruler, the emperor of pagan Rome. Now, you will have Christians, Southern evangelical Christians, playing games in your face. Because in our mind, I'm just telling you what it is. Don't be mad. I'm just telling you what it is. In our mind, when you say Christian, the first thing you think about, especially when you think about Jesus' time, you feel me? The first thing that you think about when you hear the word Christian is you think white. Why would you think that? When all the angels is white for some time now. What? When they start painting all the angels white? What was it? Like 1100? Like the 12th century was when all them Negroid-esque, Negroid adjacent, mulattified angels, black skin angels, and popes and bishops and all of that shit, and they started strategically. They didn't just erase the paintings; they left the paintings, you understand, and just started painting everybody white. That happened around the 12th century, the early 1100s, right? And so for a long time, that's all people saw. All over the walls, all over everything was these white angels and white this and that and this and this and this and that, everywhere. You feel me? So, and that was not the, listen, Rome, and we have a bad, we do this, Rome, and you will see it sometimes. Every now and again, they'll throw some blonde hair, blue eyed person in some movie about Rome. But if you look at the paintings on the walls, bitch, I'm telling you, bypass your Hollywood movies, your Hollywood adaptations, and go on to Wikipedia, go on to the Smithsonian website, go on to all of these places that have images of the old paintings on the walls and the mosaics on the floor and all of that shit. People were not, their complexion did not look like we call white people today. Hell, if you want me to be honest about it, people that we call white today in 1900 did not look like white people today. Didn't. Did you know that? Gone. I'm sitting here doing yesterday. I was like, how can I factor in the beginning of film into this discussion? Because it matters, right? And I'm looking at clips of movies like Birth of a Nation. I'm looking at, which came out in 1915. I'm looking at clips of movies like The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which came out in 1913. I'm looking at clips of movies, how old that movie was? The Fall of Troy, that came out in 1911. Movies, film, silent film. What's it called? Quo Vadis, which means Nero sings. That's what it means, right? About the story of Nero singing while watching the empire burn, right? Which I've talked to y'all about a lot. So I was like, whoa. So 1913, this Italian movie comes out about Nero watching Rome burn to the ground. And I didn't know this, but do you know why Nero was watching and he was singing and playing the lyre, watching Rome burn to the ground? Everybody was like, it must have been the rebels that did it. And in the story told in this book based on history about Nero, I want you to hear me. Nero conspired to burn the city to the ground and blame it on rebels. If that don't sound like your Donald J. Trump today, I'm just telling you, you cannot see the lines and the threads of connection. Nero conspired to blame the Jews for burning Rome to the ground because he was notoriously vicious towards the Jews, had them hanging on stakes and all kind of crazy shit. And something happened between one of his higher ups and this Jewish girl, and he was hellfire hot. This is like his second in command. Fuck you mean you done fell in love with a Jewish girl? And so he sent some of his other dudes to go and start these fires all over Rome and create the justification for an onslaught of the Jews, and shows images of them and the woman who was Jewish that the homie fell in love with. He had her bound with red rope to a bull and let the bull loose in the city until the girl like died or some shit. You understand? So that happened. So I'm watching all of these quote early silent films, just clips from them. Last night, while I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning to see how it was feeding into what I'm talking to y'all about. And I said, God, all these people, they was dark. Even the white girl who played the damsel in distress in Birth of a Nation, the white girl that was the primary damsel in distress, running away from the wild Negroes, trying to get her virtuous self. I was like, this girl dark as hell. She was dark. I was like, 100 years ago, what we understand as white. So listen, we tell the story all the time. You know, everybody, took advantage of having white skin, but everybody wasn't white when they came here in the 1900s, in the late 1800s, in the 1900s as immigrants. Jews wasn't white, Italians wasn't white, Sicilians wasn't white. How did they know they was not white? Because they was not white. I'm sitting here watching all these goddamn videos. I was binge watching this shit last night. I said, holy shit. It wasn't like, there was the only thing that could allow, quote, WASP, which is white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. It wasn't like, everybody was white. And so the only, quote, defining distinctions that WASP could use to, quote, be racist towards all these other people coming from Europe. No, they could see them. They could look at them and say, okay, they Jewish. They Sicilian, they ass Italian. Cause I'm sitting here looking at all these goddamn movies, man. I said, I'm about to have to go and do a whole deep dive on the history of film in Hollywood, because when I tell you, everybody, the most beloved of them, they was all dark-skinned. They was all dark-skinned. So it ain't a stretch when I say that in so-called ancient Rome, this period from the transition from pagan Rome to papal Rome, facilitated by Constantine, the reason that there was no concept of whiteness was, one, they were living in the Middle East. They were living in, Rome was not just, quote, Italy, which is still Southern Europe. When I say Southern Europe, I mean a boat ride to Africa, okay? A day-long boat ride to Africa from Italy to Africa. Okay, so it's not a stretch that they will be dark complected because of their proximity to the equator, right? Common sense. Okay, so you are talking about that whole stretch of the quote, what you call the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Everybody was dark. Everybody was dark. And that's why the complexions of all the angels and the bishops and all of that shit and the early Christian empire wasn't painted over, was because they looked like everybody. You had lighter skinned people and darker skinned people, but everybody was colored. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And it wasn't until the 12th century, the 1100s, that something has happened to radically transform the complexion of those who would 400 years later become white. Okay? Why does that matter? It matters because when we say Europe, especially those of us in the Western Hemisphere, when we say Europe, we make a blanket statement. And in our mind, because of the job that has been done to our skull, we say Europe, our default is white-skinned. Our default is white-skinned with blonde hair and blue eyes, or red hair and green eyes, or whatever. You feel me? That is a construction that was politically important and strategic and relatively recent in human history. Okay? So when I'm talking about Rome, when I'm talking about Constantine, hell, even when you talk about the other emperors, because I don't want to get that deep into it either, but eventually we're going to have to get there. This period that we're talking about, the transition from pagan Rome to papal Rome. Thank you so much for the donation, Balanced Justice. From pagan Rome to papal Rome as led by Constantine. And so first, and the other reason that I mentioned the war that all these Christians always point to, where he had the epiphany on the battlefield that he too needed to become a Christian or whatever. This is what gave rise to him. Now, this was in 318. This is what gave rise to him facilitating the Edict of Milan. The Edict of Milan in 318 was his attempt, after the so-called epiphany, to make peace with the Christians. First of all, that's why I went into the whole diatribe about how everybody was colored. Everybody was different variances of colored, but everybody was colored. There was no concept of white. That was the binder for them, the unifier for them, right? Romans against others or anything like that. The reason I mentioned that is because who were the Christians? Who were the Christians up until this point that had been, quote, persecuted by the Roman Empire? Who were the Christians? Who were the Christians? I'm not gonna thank you for the reminder, boo. I'm sitting here watching the clock. I'm not gonna forget my old people lunch. Okay. Who are the Christians? Who were the Christians that was, quote, being persecuted in Rome? Because the way I heard the story growing up in a white evangelical church, it was common for us to always be the one black family wherever we went in this, even in this particular sect, independent fundamentalists. The way the story is told, when it's told about Rome, you know what I'm saying, persecuting Christians at the time, but because everybody you see in your church is white, in your mind's eye, especially as a young person of color, in your mind's eye, you see white people being persecuted. That's what I saw in my head. In my head, when I was growing up reading the Bible, even the Old Testament, I didn't visualize dark-skinned colored people, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I didn't visualize them being dark-skinned people, being tossed in the fire by Nebuchadnezzar or whoever the fuck. You feel me? Moses, and hell, they gave you Charlton Heston. You feel me? Thank you for your membership for 11 months, Sage Page 818. I visualized that everybody from the beginning of time was white. So when we start hearing stories about Rome and its viciousness, its persecution of Christians, it's the meat and potatoes of Christianity. The poor Christians who everywhere they go, they have been persecuted for their beliefs. Ain't that the story they're telling you right now today? Isn't that the story that they had Nicki Minaj making proclamations about just a couple of months ago? Oh my God, these Nigerians is persecuting Christians. Isn't that what they were saying? Isn't that what you heard growing up in the Protestant church of whatever your making and choice and choosing is? Is that in the end of days, Christians will be persecuted for their beliefs. Isn't that what they said? That you have to stand up for Jesus because you will be and the more you're willing to suffer, the greater your reward in the afterlife will be. But you have to come to expect that for the love of Jesus, for the belief in Jesus, you will be persecuted. Isn't that what you hear in every song? Stand up for Jesus. Whatever the song was. I forget what it was. And you a soldier in the army of the Lord. Isn't that another hymn we used to sing? At least in the white people church. I grew up in a white people church. I didn't grow up in a gospel church. Unfortunately, I grew up in a white people church. So the hymns was way different. You feel me? Stand up for Jesus. Do, whatever. Isn't that the story that you hear? Is that you always gonna be persecuted. You know, anywhere you go, people gonna treat you like a weirdo, whatever. You understand? Because you love Jesus, and you have to expect that, especially in the end of days, you will be persecuted for the love of Jesus. Does that sound familiar to you at all? And I'm not just talking about you being a Christian. I'm saying, does it currently sound familiar to you all? Who the hell were Christians in the pagan period of Rome, transitioning to the papal period of Rome, represented by this split in time, this actual severing of history, past from the future, implemented by Constantine. Once was pagan, now is the chief Christian among Christians. Who were the Christians? Ain't nobody answered the question yet. Who were the Christians in the Roman Empire? 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 I'm telling you, the okie doke is so huge in its simplicity that it will fuck you up. The okie doke. Every Christian in pagan Rome and in papal Rome were Jewish. Nah, they were Jewish. 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 Every Christian in pagan and papal Rome was Jewish. They were Jewish. So when I say, does this story sound currently familiar? Does this story sound currently familiar? We, mostly Southern Black evangelicals, and the white ones, of course, but us Southern Black evangelicals grew up hearing we're gonna be persecuted for our beliefs. We're gonna be persecuted for our beliefs because we Christians, because we love Jesus, this and that. And so if we go knocking on people's door talking about trying to win their soul and they treat us bad, it's because we're gonna be persecuted. We're gonna be persecuted for the love of Jesus. But there is an origin story to this narrative of instigating conflict and then playing the victim when people respond to the conflict you instigated. Do you understand what I'm saying? Christians were Jews. Christians were Jews. The Essenes were Jews. The Christians was Jews. As a matter of fact, if you go back to your own Bible, you feel me? In the split in your own Bible from the Old Testament to the New Testament that corresponds with the split made by Constantine transforming pagan Rome into papal Rome. What is the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament? Jesus. Jesus was a Jew, wasn't he? That's the story y'all tell. Jesus was a Jew, wasn't he? His mama was Jewish. His daddy, his earth daddy was Jewish. You feel me? And even though I just talked to y'all about this a couple weeks ago, even though Jesus didn't have no street cred, couldn't nobody speak for him, didn't nobody know who the fuck he was, because you know he was born in exile, you feel me? And then he gone for 33 years. Then he didn't live among the Jews in Rome. He did not. He wasn't raised in the tradition of the Hebrews. If you believe the story the way that it is told, that he just emerged from up under a turnip leaf somewhere, 33 years old, ready to deliver his ministry. But his ministry was not the tradition of his lineage. Jesus was a Jew who was not raised in the Jewish traditions, was not raised under Jewish rabbis and keepers of the sacred traditions of the Jewish people. And so that's why the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all these dudes had beef with Jesus. Like, who the fuck this motherfucker is coming from out of nowhere claiming to be the Messiah? You understand? He ain't learned from none of us. He don't respect none of our traditions. Does that sound familiar to y'all at all? He don't respect none of our traditions. Is he gonna come up in here trying to tell us what to do, claiming that he is God incarnate, that he is God on earth? Like, can somebody speak for this motherfucker? Like, where you been for 33 years? That you coming over here where we at, trying to disrupt the program, trying to disrupt what we got going on over here. You feel me? So the way the story is told is that Jesus is not a Christian. Okay, he is just a quote teacher at the time. The idea of Christianity comes from Paul. All right, and so supposedly after Jesus dies and ascends into heaven, Christianity becomes a thing after the death and resurrection. This is the formation of Christianity. But Christianity is made up of followers of Jesus who are Jews who like what Jesus talking about, as opposed to the shit that they came up with for whatever reason, whatever the problem that they had with the old traditions was. They was like, this new nigga, we like what he talking about. We gon' hedge all our bets with him. We gonna pick up our shit, you feel me, and leave what we have always known to go into the great unknown with him. They were Jewish. And so you got Jesus, you got Christians telling you that we will always be persecuted for our beliefs. And you got Jews saying the same thing at the same time today. 2,000 years and we are always persecuted for our beliefs. Why? Because the origin of them is the same. It's the same. It's the same. It's the split. It's the split represented in time by Constantine literally having some dude who was a top initiate of a school of mysteries of Dionysus, who he said, look, you sit in this corner over here and you don't let nobody get in your way. We need you to reckon time. We need you to rewrite the cosmos is what he did. He didn't just create a new calendar. That's not what he did. Even though it was about the reckoning of the reckoning of Easter, so that it does not quote correspond with the Passover. How do you reckon Easter? Does anybody know how Easter is determined every year? Do you? I didn't until I started this walk. I didn't. Does anybody know why is Easter a different day every year? How do they decide when Easter is? Today. Nobody. Okay, you don't have to answer like that. Put a thumbs up if you know, or put a thumbs down if you don't know. Thumbs up if you know, thumbs down if you don't know. Do you know how Easter is determined every year? Because you do know it does not happen the same day every year. You can't say Easter is April whatever. That ain't it. So how is Easter determined every year? Easter is going to always fall on the Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Okay? So you have the spring equinox, which is always going to be either March 20th or March 21st, right? So after the spring equinox, the first full moon after the equinox, that corresponding Sunday will be Easter. That's how they determine Easter, right? Problem is that the equinox is a long story. Short Cliff Notes version is that when Exodus is reckoning time, supposedly centered around reckoning Easter so that it does not correlate with the Passover. He doesn't just have to, quote, change the calendar. He doesn't just have to, quote, change our understanding of the calendar. Somebody mentioned the lunar calendar, right? He doesn't just have to change the calendar. He doesn't just have to reconcile time as we understand it on this planet. Our understanding not only of, quote, Easter, but our transition through the ages. An age is what? 21 is it 2150 years? Each age lasts 2,150 years, something like that. 21, I think it's 2,150 years. Each age lasts 2,150 years. You feel me? And how you know you have transitioned from one age to the next age is based on the spring equinox, the vernal equinox in what is it? It is the spring equinox, and there's something else to it. So every 2,150 years, how you know you have moved from one age to another age is a very specific spring equinox that you have to know your relationship of your solar system to the rest of the goddamn Milky Way galaxy to understand how you have officially moved from one age to the next age. You feel what I'm saying? So what I'm telling you is that Dionysus Exiguus didn't just, quote, reckon time to, quote, figure out when they gonna hold Easter every year. No, he had to rewrite our understanding of the goddamn cosmos is what he had to do. That's what he had to do. And so this quote, splitting of time, the whole concept of BC, Exiguus Dionysus Exiguus comes up with the BC, before Christ. And it wasn't until the next Council of Nicaea, which I think was a little over 100 years later, that the quote AD was added. Now, so this splitting of time that corresponded with the splitting of pagan Rome to papal Rome, and this splitting of the Bible itself, what would become the Bible, right? The Bible itself, all of the holidays were established in the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Christmas was established. All Hallows Eve and its changes was established in 325 at the Council of Nicaea. Easter was established at the Council of Nicaea. All right. The reason that this was strategic was because he went in as a military strategist who is now becoming the chief emperor of the new burgeoning Christian religion that had been the primary cause of rebellion in the empire. Do you hear what I'm saying? So when Christians used to ask, what does a bunny and some eggs have to do with Jesus and the resurrection, which also is a lie, by the way, is flipped upside down, by the way. And when they asked that, it is because militarily, what he did was he took all of the men of wisdom, mysteries, secrets, shamans from the whole empire. There was Negroes up in there. There was Africans. There was Egyptians. There was Chinese people, and there was Japanese people, and everybody from the empire was demanded to come to the Council of Nicaea, so that they could construct the face of what would be the new religion. That's why he said, I don't have to keep fighting everybody. I don't have to keep trying to quell rebellion through the empire. People just need to see themselves in the new religion. If I'm saying this is the religion everybody has to practice, and that we are going to squash all the old religions, which is what he did. He squashed the practice of paganism in the empire. But the only way to do that without destabilizing the whole shit was to create a goddamn Frankenstein religion, which is actually a very good analogy. He had to create a Frankenstein religion to say this is Christianity. You feel me? This is Christianity. And so as the ritual, because these are still ritualistic people. These are people who have been practicing ritual and ceremony every day of their normal lives, just every day going about their business. Everything was ceremony. Everything was ritual. And he knew that. He said, so how do I get people on board and at the same time squash rebellion? Not violently, because I don't have the manpower to keep doing that shit. I got to do it ideologically. I got to do it spiritually. And so he takes little pieces of everybody's religions, everybody's practices, everybody's pagan shit, because he knew how much people were going to resist. He said, just take a look. As long as people can see themselves in their oppression, bitch. As long as people can see themselves in the religion of the crafted and created by their oppressor, it will pacify them. And it did. That's how you get the bunnies and the Easter eggs and shit on Easter, supposedly representing Christ's resurrection. And the reason I say that shit is, if you believe that Jesus was even real, you remember I was telling you, I ain't gonna go that far, but that, if you was being honest about the timeline that y'all have been given, that Jesus was born on December 25th, if the story were to be told the way that it actually has been told, is that Jesus died on the cross, right? Because even when you're talking about the resurrection and shit, right? Like y'all celebrate the resurrection on Easter, which is the spring equinox, right? But the resurrection happened in December. Jesus is a Capricorn, first of all. I mean, if you're going to tell the tale, when he was born, y'all say Jesus was born on December 25th. Nope, he was resurrected on December 25th. He was resurrected on the 25th, but they did not want Jesus's birthday to correspond with every other agricultural deity that existed before him. Every agricultural deity in nations all over had the same birth story and death story of Jesus. Okay? And so if the stories were told the way they were supposed to be told, and they could not afford for people to see the correlation between Jesus, who they are saying is God, right? So they had to split this period, this story. So they said we celebrate his birth on the 25th, you feel me? And we celebrate his resurrection from the grave as Easter, right? They were killing two birds with one stone. One is because historically, December, the winter solstice, that's why his quote birthday corresponds so closely to the winter solstice, is because he dies on the winter solstice. He dies on the 21st and appears dead for 3 days and then is resurrected into the northern hemisphere. Do you understand? Jesus as the SUN dies on the cross on December 21st every year. He dies on the cross he dies on the cross on December 21st, and for 3 days he appears to not move. So he appears dead. And then on December 25th, he is resurrected. He moves 1 degree in the opposite direction, foretelling of greater days to come, more sun and all of this stuff, right? But most astrologers are saying, according to the story of Jesus, if you want to say Jesus, that's fine. But most people know, I mean, the sun, the SUN, is that Jesus was a Virgo. Sorry. Some people say, now, if you accept the Christian story that Jesus was born on December 25th, which is also problematic, but they did a good enough job of wiping your memory clean by threatening you with hellfire and damnation, stoning you to death, or burning you at the stake for studying astrology. Because if you had studied astrology from childhood, you would say, damn, if Jesus was born on December 25th, I mean, he was a Capricorn. And they couldn't afford for that to happen because they always associate Capricorn with the devil for a reason. Okay? But if you accept the story told astrologically about Jesus's quote birth and death, Jesus was a Virgo, which gives you a whole nother set of complications. Jesus's resurrection is told to keep you away from one, what they were trying to reckon, which was the correlation between the Passover and the spring equinox. But they damn sure couldn't have you paying attention to the spring equinox, because that would take you all the way back to the origin of the word Easter, which is Ishtar, one of the great primordial deities, mother of the earth, the multi-breasted. Feel me? So this reckoning of time was strategically, first, the severing of time had to happen. We just experienced the severing of time. I'll talk to you about that on another day, because now I do need to go. But let me tell you why I chose the name. I will come back today to continue talking to you, but I won't be talking to you off the dome. There's some things I want to read to you. I got several books stacked up in here. But this discussion about what happened in Rome being at least a turning point, a critical point in what we experience right now, and how because those men that have been in power for many eons now, right, still play out history in real time, okay? So the title that I gave for the live is Finem Cultus Solis Invicti Nunc Salutamus. Finem Cultus Solis Invicti Nunc Salutamus. And that was my response to this statement I had been hearing in my research. And it is called Sol Invictus. You've probably seen it. Sol Invictus, right? And Sol Invictus literally means the invincible or the unconquered sun. The invincible or the unconquered sun, S-U-N, the invincible or unconquered sun. This became the common title for the men who would become emperor of Rome, because they believed in practice, in real daily and political life, that as soon as they became emperor, they became the actual embodiment of the sun god in the flesh. Did you hear me? So Constantine too was Sol Invictus. I'll talk to y'all about that later, because he wasn't the creator of it. The starting point for this title, Sol Invictus, and this is why, especially in the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire, there wasn't as much rebellion, is because people were fearful to rebel, because they believed that he who ruled Rome was the actual embodiment of God on earth, that God literally would come and sit inside him on earth. Julius Caesar, who many believe the character of Jesus was fashioned after, Julius Caesar, JC, that's a discussion for another day. But Julius Caesar's rule and his time as ruler, people, because he too was Sol Invictus. And so during his tenure in pagan Rome, Constantine crowned Sol Invictus, the sun god on earth. The sun god on earth. Did the title, did the influence or the impact of the title change because he became a Christian? No. Guess why? Because Jesus is a solar deity. Jesus is a solar deity. When he placed himself as the chief Christian, transforming Rome from pagan Rome to papal Rome, his reverence, the depth of people's abiding by his leadership did not change. They still saw him as God on earth, even though he was calling himself a Christian. They still saw him as God on earth. Constantine the Great, Constantine the First. He was not the only Sol Invictus that is famous to you, by the way. Alexander the Great was Sol Invictus. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. When I talk about the intimacy of these men for, you can actually say thousands of years, because even the Romans were not the first to do this. The Persians had a version of it. The practitioners of the Mithra cult, they did it. This is years and years and years before Rome. Who else? The Greeks had their version of it. They didn't call him Sol Invictus, but they still had the exact same version of it. Sol Invictus, God on earth, God being personified as the sun. Listen, I might have to skip lunch today. God damn it. Listen. So, Sol Invictus means invincible or unconquerable sun. That shit sent me on WordHome. I was like, what you mean invincible, unconquerable sun? So I Google Sol Invictus, and all of the images that I see, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of images, right, are the sun god in stages. The sun god in stages, always personified by either sun rays coming up out of his head, if it like actual pointy rays, right, or a solar halo, like just look like a circle, a solar halo, or pointy solar rays coming out of his head, right? But when you search Sol Invictus, you see Sol Invictus in stages, okay? You see Sol Invictus as baby, divinely born from a virgin, Sol Invictus. You see Sol Invictus as a gallant warrior. Listen to what I'm telling you. You see Sol Invictus as a gallant warrior, a young man who is the sun. Sol Invictus as this man whose hair is now spiky. The light, the rays are spiky when he is a young man. All right. And he is a horseman. Listen to me. He is a horseman in a chariot pushing 4 horses. So even the revelations talking about the 4 horsemen, I am convinced, I ain't found the evidence of it yet. I'm convinced it was a deliberate play on words, child. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 4 horsemen, he is the singular horseman who rides 4 horsemen. He is on a chariot riding 4 horsemen through these stages of his life as the sun. You understand? What are the stages? If what I'm saying is true, that it's not 4 individual men riding 4 individual horses, but it is 4 horses, a pale horse and a red horse and a black horse and whatever the other color of the motherfucking horse he is, you feel me? And he got these 4 horses. Say it's a singular horseman that has these 4 horses, and each one of the 4 horses of the goddamn apocalypse represents a stage in time. Because we're still talking about the sun, man. We're still talking about the sun, and each one of the quote horsemen atop the peculiarly colored horse. The horse is what when you read the Revelation, because I went and read it when I was reading this shit, I was like, am I having a breakthrough? This motherfucker as Sol Invictus, as Rome, you feel me, is one dude with the solar rays, you feel me, trotting behind 4 horses on this chariot. All right. I started thinking about the chariot card in the tarot and what the chariot card represents in the tarot, you feel me? And in the tarot, the esoteric meaning of the Chariot and the Victor, because the Chariot is a card of victory. And so if Sol Invicti as the personification in this emperor or that emperor or this emperor, and each color of the horse, because when you read the Revelation, it talks specifically about the color of the horse, and the rider of top brings the plague, and the rider of top brings death, and and whatever the fuck else. What is it? It's plague and death, and what is it? It's like yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like swarm. What do you call that? Swarms, locust, whatever the fuck. And the one brings war or some shit, right? Each one. So if you're talking about the sun, okay, let me draw this shit. Now just walk with me. If you are talking about the sun, and each emperor sees himself as the personification of the godson, or the sun god, however you want to say it, each one of them internalizes that his life path is that of Sol Invictus, the unconquerable, invincible sun, right? And if they see themselves as God on earth, then strategically their life is going to have to mirror the story: conquest, war, famine, and death. Thank you. Right? It's going to have to mirror the story that they have grown to believe. Y'all. This becomes important. Some of you weren't on here, but 2 weeks ago, I did a whole long diatribe about what would be the why would not only what I said, what am I witnessing right now, right? With all these Zionists, right, who have these what you would think are like fucked up, inexplicable relationships with known Nazis, right? With known Nazis. What in the world could Jews possibly have in common with Nazis, known white nationalists and white supremacists? Why would they be homies? Why would they be kicking it like that? I'm talking about today. I'm talking about today. I'm talking about today. I'm talking about how can so many of the lobbyists and so many people who hold seats in the Senate and in the House of Representatives in Congress be Jewish, devoutly practicing Jewish, right? And Elon Musk, who was raised in apartheid South Africa, gets up and does a Heil Hitler salute at the inaugural thing, and what they call it, the what's the Jewish organization, the ADL, the ADL ain't got shit to say. Even black people's like, wait a minute. That dude did that Heil Hitler thing with his whole chest, not only his whole chest, he did it twice just to make sure y'all didn't mistake for anything other than what it was. And all the black people's like, why the ADL ain't said shit yet? They always jolly on the spot with goddamn anti-Semitism. How somebody in the crowd ain't bum rush that motherfucker right where he stood? Like, and the ADL put out a public statement saying y'all didn't see what y'all saw. I think y'all misunderstood what y'all saw, because back in the days, the Romans used to salute like that. That might have been what he was doing. And they ain't said nothing else about it. Then we find out that, what's his head? What's that old crazy boy name? Alex Carr is Jewish. It's white. He's white presenting, as it were. He got crazy hair, but he looked like a white boy. That he is half Jewish and half black to add to it. Talking about killing people, talking about using AI and drones filled with piss and fentanyl to kill his enemies. This Negro this dude who looked like a white boy, you feel me, whose father was a Jewish civil rights attorney and his mama was a civil rights artist, activist and artist. And he talking about not only is he talking about killing people with drones filled with urine and fentanyl, but his best friend of all time for the last 30 years, his bestest homie in the whole world is Peter Thiel, known white supremacist who is constantly making a declaration that he is the Antichrist, who went to school with Elon Musk in apartheid South Africa. I said, wait a minute. ain't the people that did the whole apartheid South, ain't they like hardcore white supremacists? How is there this long, amicable, mutually beneficial historical relationship with the rulers of apartheid South Africa and fucking Israel? How do they reconcile this shit in their skull? Remember me telling y'all that? Going off like, and so I say, let's take it back because I don't understand what I'm looking at right now. So I said, let me go back a little bit. And the back a little bit that I went was this period that was unfolding at the same time over here in the United States of America and over across the water in Germany. It's 1942, and a good old German, a good old Jewish white boy, right, raised socially white, here in the United States, had almost the exact same story as Alex Cart, by the way. He had extremely radical parents. His parents were activists. His parents were socialists. His story was that he was raised going to demonstrations and this and that and this and that. This 1942 now. Okay. And there, the story that is told, which is a common story. This is where I'm talking about the overplay of mythology as religion that continues to be played out over and over and over again in your face. Oppenheimer, his parents were activists. His parents were socialists. His parents was about that life. The story goes that his mother died when he was a teenager. His mother died unexpectedly, and it caused a complete upheaval in his life and in his consciousness, right? So here this kid is, born an activist, raised by some revolutionary gangster parents and shit. And so you are somehow so dismayed in your heart chakra by the loss of your mother that it justifies this shift in your consciousness to absolute diabolatry. So he starts to work as a young scientist with the Manhattan Project. Okay. And after a little while, he does what is said to be impossible. For forever, it is said to be impossible. For forever, it is said to be impossible to divide the indivisible. Sound familiar? When I'm talking about the invincible, unconquerable sun, it's said to be indivisible, the atom. It is said to be impossible to split, to divide the atom. And for the first time in human history, among all the alchemists and all the scientists and all the great thinkers, the impossible is accomplished through an act of fission. He splits the atom. He splits the atom, and literally a month later, he's like, we got to test this shit. So they go to New Mexico to test this thing that he has done, this weapon he has created in the splitting of the atom. And the first testing of the weapon that he created through this act of fission, he names it. He gives it a name, just like any mother would of her creation. He names the bomb Trinity. He names the bomb Trinity. When the bomb explodes, all the people, now this is what the people are saying that are around him. All the people around him say that the first thing that he said upon witnessing the mushroom cloud that arose out of the explosion was, in this moment, I am dead. I am become death, destroyer of worlds. And I had heard that story so many times, but it just went in one ear and out the other. But this particular journey, since December 21st, this particular period, trying to reconcile why all these white-skinned Jews and all these white-skinned Nazis are homies all of a sudden. And I was like, it can't just be their whiteness that is the unifier. Something deeper is going on. That's why I'm always telling y'all the okie doke is the nationalism, the black nationalism, the white nationalism, the Mexican, the red. That's our stopping point all the time. It's our starting point all the time. Is nationalism. I was like, something deeper is happening. But because that's always our stopping point, that's always our starting point, they were certain that we could not see. Hold on. My IG live just stopped for no reason. Ooh. Boy, cut it out. All right. Ugh. I must be going too hard because my IG went off and then my live went off. Like totally black. The whole screen went totally black. All right. So I don't know how much y'all heard, but I was saying, I started out by saying, there's something deeper than just a whiteness. You feel me? Because we keep saying white nationalism, white supremacy, that's the issue, that's the issue. And I was like, but if Jews keep telling this story about how the worst thing that ever happened to them happened at the hands of German nationalist Nazis, right? Then, and this shit so raw that they still talking about it every day. The ADL is jolly on the spot anytime where a hint of anti-Semitism comes up. Then how are all these dudes who are supposed to be natural enemies always in league with each other? Is it just whiteness as a unifier? It's deeper than that. But they know we'll get stuck on that. We'll get stalemated right at the whiteness, right at quote racism, right at white supremacy. We won't go no deeper than that. We won't go no further than that. I'm saying there's something else going on. There's something deeper going on. So I want to know, right? So I go back to Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer makes this declaration. First of all, he was like such a good student, this and that and this and that. His mama died, so he becomes this diabolical son of a gun, right? He makes the declaration. In this moment, I am become death, destroyer of worlds. And I'm like, all these years I heard that and that shit passed in one ear out the other. I ain't have no reference for it until a couple of weeks ago when I went off on it. And so he says this, and we know that this is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. And I was like, wait a minute though. Adolf Hitler was a huge occultist. He was not only was he a huge occultist and esotericist, he was also a devout Catholic. Hitler was. You feel what I'm saying? And so he is an occultist. And even though the Catholic Church is what the Catholic Church is, they ain't seem to have no problem back then that he was an occultist having witches and seances at his castle and shit as a part of his strategy to, quote, create a new Germany. All the Catholic high-uppers that were supporters of Nazi Germany, that were supporters of Hitler, they ain't seem to have no problem with him corralling witches and shit and having seances in the castle and having all this iconography that we always thought was just political iconography. All of the iconography of the Third Reich was religious iconography. All of it. The SS as a lightning bolt, the black sun with the cross, with the arms that come out like this. Every single solitary symbol they used was religious iconography. All of it, right? And so I knew that Hitler was really into the occult, but I didn't know the extent. So I hear Oppenheimer say this thing about how he has become the destroyer of worlds. And then I said, well, you know what? It is the same period of time. At the same period of time that this dude is developing the most destructive weapon on earth, Hitler is literally creating a death machine at the same time that he is creating a birth ritual. He's creating a birth ritual. He is kidnapping white women who look like they fit the bill, blonde hair and blue eyes, and put them in these camps to force them to become impregnated by selected soldiers. As a matter of fact, you remember the band ABBA? The cute little quote disco band. It was 4 members. It was 2 dudes and the 2 girls that fronted the band. Take a chance on me. I'm gonna do my very best. Do. Them really hokey, supposedly disco group from Australia. One of the women several years ago wrote a tell-all book because her and the other front girl got blonde hair and white blonde hair and blue eyes. That they were both the byproducts of the breeding program initiated by Hitler. And they had always kept it secret because it was like a dark mark and they lied and they passed or whatever. Yeah, she wrote a book talking about how she don't know who her daddy is because they was born in these breeding camps in goddamn Nazi Germany, where they was kidnapping white women from Switzerland and Sweden and all these places and forcing them to come to Germany and live in these camps where they was trying to breed the perfect white babies, the perfect Aryan race. You feel me? So I say, all right, let me go a little bit into what type version of esotericism this dude was into, right? And of course, because I have been doing this deep dive with Saturn since December 21st, I said, let me just start with the SS. I was already on one because of the in November, the Taylor Swift controversy where she and the sister was kind of going back and forth, and then people started accusing Taylor Swift of being not only like a white nationalist whisperer, like, you know, low-key aligning herself to get the support of white nationalists, but being subtle. But when she started going in on the sister, you feel me? People started looking at her background. I was like, no, this girl ain't been whispering. If you care to look, Taylor Swift is she is the beloved of the white nationalist movement. She is picturesque. She's blonde hair. She's got blue eyes, this and this. But if you go back and look at some of the things that she's done, some of the articles of clothing that she's with, some of the company that she's kept, she low-key ain't really been that silent, right? And then when she released this last album in November, everybody was like, oh no, this girl is actually a white nationalist. She released a line of jewelry at the same time that she released this album. And I saw a single video. This young white girl was saying, what you guys think, black people and brown people, not what y'all are thinking, I am going to confirm. She said, I grew up in a house with hardcore white nationalists. She said, I don't have no relationship to my family. As soon as I was old enough to get the fuck up out of the house, I did. She said, but I am going to show you all the iconography and I'm going to yeah, I see. Yeah, this shit crazy. I see y'all talk about she might be forcing me to go to lunch. Lunch over now to miss lunch. That's done. That's done. But anyway, she is saying that that 88 is a huge number in those spaces because the number H, the letter H is the 8th number in the alphabet. HH being Heil Hitler, right? So you got the 8 lightning bolts and the 8 pointed star as a quote little nod to the Heil Hitler, right? Okay, fine. So that's how I got started on that. Well, I told you for myself because I am a Capricorn moon. We had just gone into the Capricorn season, the winter solstice. So let me start with the letter S. And I wasn't even on that. I was just on, if I'm going to be talking about Saturn, doing this deep dive into Saturn, let me start all the way to the beginning. What is the etymology of the word Saturn? What is the etymology of the letter S? All of that shit, right? And so when I started searching the etymology of the letter S in particular and the planet Saturn, I was like, okay. All of this iconography that I had been seeing associated with the Third Reich, they're all Saturnian iconography. They're not general esoteric iconography. All of the symbols are Saturnian. All of them. The black sun on the floor of the castle that they bought. Their particular iteration of the swastika, because there are literally like 1,000 iterations of the swastika, and each iteration of the swastika has a very specific meaning. Every single one, everywhere, right? And and the swastika in general represents the winds of time or the winds of change. Still relates to time, like the cycle of time. And so the specific iteration of the swastika that the Germans used, that the Third Reich used, let me see if I can find it really quick. But the short version was, it represented, and each iteration of the swastika, so if the swastika is straight up and down, you feel me? It means something. If it is left, like if the arms are left facing, it means something. If the arms are right facing, it means something. If the swastika is at an angle where its internal arms form an X, it means something, right? And so this particular iteration of the swastika in an X form, because their swastika was X formed and right facing. So I got off. Hold on. Let me run it back. Let me run it back before I go too far, because it's still related, but I want to go back. So I was talking about Sol Invictus, right? And the Sol Invictus that rides 4 horses. The 4 horses represent different houses. The chariot that he sits in represents how he moves through each house. The sun, Sol Invictus, how he moves through each season. These aren't the houses, these are the seasons. The houses live within the seasons. These are the seasons. So if you're thinking about, I want you to think about it like this. These are the seasons. Okay, so when we're looking at the Revelation and it talks about the 4 horsemen, and you think in your mind it's going to be an individual man for each individual horse, but every single image of Sol Invicti you find is an image of a singular solar deity pushing 4 horses, and each horse represents a different period in time, a different period in his life, a different season in his life, the sun. Okay, so this is Sol Invictus, and these are the seasons through which each horse represents. All right, now this was what I was thinking. Okay, if the Revelation actually matches, because that's what we've been saying all along, that's what every kind of like astrotheologist is saying, is that the book of Revelations is the foretelling of the sun, the S-U-N, the sun's movement out of the house of Pisces, the sun as Jesus, right? And into the house of Aquarius, the sun as Aquarius. And his personification, his appearance in the sign of Aquarius. That's what the Revelation is. That's what Revelations is, right? The sun in the house of Aquarius. Okay? But think about this. When thinking about the Revelations, quote, the 4 horsemen, as singular this time, and representing the sun. So we have, for all intents and purposes, everybody's saying we have transitioned out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. So, but because again, these motherfuckers split time. they told us that BC meant before Christ, right? What it specifically means, according to Dionysius Exeges, is the 1 year prior to the birth of Christ. BC means 1 year prior to his birth. So 1 BC is the year prior to his birth, right? And 1 AD is the 1 year after his death. Okay? That's what they telling us. This split in time. So you got a 1 BC and a 1 AD, and you ain't got no starting point, you ain't got no year zero. You feel me? Either way, if you're going backwards as BC or forwards as AD, you ain't got there's no year zero. There's no year starting point. And so all we are told is that coming out of the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD is that there are 33 years. 33 years missing. Well, 34 years just unaccounted for in the middle, because BC was established as the year before, the year leading up to Christ's birth. So that's BC. And AD is a year after his death. So who knows how much time they just erased out of this schism they created in actual time. You see what I'm saying? So even our understanding, not only that, I didn't know until this week. Did you know that in order to, quote, rectify the way they changed the calendar, that during Constantine's reign, they established, because it was the Julian calendar first, right? They established a solar-centered calendar, and in that solar-centered calendar, trying to rectify how we would move through an annual year. Do you know that before they changed the calendar, because we had heard about the lunar calendar and all of that stuff, but what they say is that prior to this, quote, reckoning of time, that there were actually only 360 days a year, not 365. There were only 360 days a year, which sends you into another deeper wormhole that I won't go into, but 630 degrees of completion in a circle, in a sphere, whatever, right? I was like, oh my gosh, holy shit. Okay, this has deeper implications than I can deal with right at this moment. But the math of having 5 extra days added to a year every day and a 6th day on a leap year, I was like, how many days has been added to our life? It was like 20,000 since so-called, since 1 AD. Took how many years that was? How many years have been, how many days, how many extra days? And I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't remember. How many extra days? Somebody can do the math real quick. So it is 2026. So do it for 2025. So that's 2025 days. 2025 years. Somebody do the math real quick. Multiply 2025 by 5. 2025 by 5. Okay, for 26. You sure you did that math right? 2026 multiplied by 5. Okay, so that's 10,125 days. Okay, now, is somebody a mathematician out there? Is somebody good with freaking math? Okay, so now 10,125. What do we need to do next? Do we need to divide that by 365. Is that what we need to do? Divide 10,125 by 365. I think I'm thinking about this right. I don't know. Somebody divide 10,125 by 365. Is that right? I think that's right. Anybody? Because I can't do it. My extra font. 20. So okay. So that's 27 years. All right. Okay. So we have accumulated 27 extra years, right? This might have been what this thing I found. Okay, go ahead. So I am 50. All right. That don't sound right. I don't know how to explain in the world what I am thinking about in my head. Our own personal reckoning of time. If the years, okay, if every year has had 5 extra days added to it, you feel me? Meaning accelerating our individual time. And you are trying, and so, okay, all right. Okay, so you try to reconcile how old you would actually be. So maybe we have to do it for our individual self. How old you would actually be if you did not have 5 extra days imposed on your life telling you that you're older than you are. I found this thing that was based on the lunar calendar that was supposed to be able to rectify your time based on the lunar calendar. If there were 13 months with 28 equal days in each month, how old? Oh, yeah, if there was 13 months. If Ophiuchus was a house on the zodiacal chart and every year was divided equally between 13 months and 28 days, how old would you be if Ophiuchus was still a part of the constellations? And I did this, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember the website, but Google it. How old would I be if we were on a lunar calendar? And it said, now this is 4 or 5 years ago that I did this, and it said I would be 37, 36, something like that. I was like, that don't even, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I don't know how I got on that. Okay, I was talking about this guy, Sol Invictus. So Sol Invictus. So what? And so they're literally telling you the story. Revelation says what? Somebody told me back in the. Oh, thank you, Forbidden One, for the donation, my dear. Somebody told me a little ways ago. Where was that at? The 4 horses represented death, famine, conquest, war, famine, and death. Okay. Now, if we're looking at those things, conquest, war, famine, and death, as seasons as opposed to literal, as seasons of Sol Invictus as opposed to literal, what would those seasons be? What would conquest be? I would assume conquest would be like the summer, because the heat is oppressive. You feel me? But you still got a lot of energy because it's sunny outside. The days are long, right? I don't know though. Oh shit. I don't know though, but I'll keep on this trajectory. So you said conquest, war, famine, holy shit, famine, and death. God. Oh shit. Okay, we'll go with these for right now. Damn. Oh my God. Okay, when y'all have a chance, go back to son of a bitch. Go back to this live. All right. And when you see the thumbnail for this live, supposed to be representing Sol Invictus, the unconquerable, invincible sun. Okay? If you look close, I didn't understand why it was going to be relevant until just now. I didn't do it on purpose. But if you look at the thumbnail that I chose, the thumbnail is of Sol Invictus as female. Son of a bitch. Oh. God damn. The thumbnail that I chose, just trying to be quick, not even doing it deliberately. The thumbnail that I chose is as Sol Invictus as female. All right? That's why this analogy that I'm making when we talk about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the horses that they drive represent conquest, war, famine, and death. God fucking damn, child. Let's just go with this before I drop this on y'all that I'm having this experience that I'm having right now. Okay, so conquest, we will call, you know what? We won't call summer conquest. We will call spring conquest. We'll call spring conquest. We'll call summer war. We will call the fall or the autumn famine. And we'll call winter death. Because according to all of the patriarchal inversions of the mythologies, this is accurate, right? Because shit. Because what do they say about the resurrection that is placed in the spring, at the spring equinox? What do they say about the resurrection? Huh? They say that it is announced that the Lord has conquered death. Oh my God. Huh? According to the Revelations, right? He has conquered death when he resurrected. He has conquered, what did they say? He has conquered the tomb, right? Holy shit. Man, He has conquered the tomb. Somebody do me a favor and search the scripture where they announce, they say he has conquered. I think they say he has conquered the tomb. Somebody put that scripture in the thing for me. But what does the Revelation say? That the Revelation says, okay, war, conquest, war, famine, and death, right? And war we will associate with the summer. Oh man. Famine. Okay. That's okay. So say Sol Invictus is male, like Constantine, like Caesar, like Alexander the Great, like all of the great conquerors of the past, Napoleon, Winston Churchill, name them. You feel me? All the great conquerors, name them, right? They are the personification of Sol Invictus, who is the sun as male, in his rule as male, in his time, in his movement through the cosmos as male. The sun raised up above the mother. He has conquered the tomb, which is synonymous with the womb in matriarchal tradition. The womb and the tomb are the same, right? So the child, Sol Invictus, born of a virgin, is now the conqueror. He is the young man with the things, the pointy rays coming out of his head. His either as the sun or as the man, his face is grimacing. It's concentrated. His eyebrows are crinkled. You will find pictures of the actual sun, sun, with this crinkly looking menacing, crinkling forehead, and his rays seem to be beaming on the land. People are turning away, and a lot of these images where you see Sol Invictus as the actual sun with a face on it, it's not like a happy face sun like we saw as kids. It's like grimacing, menacing, sinister looking sun, and the rays seem to be like really outstretching and like burning and singeing the land and shit. And people are on the ground like this, like trying to protect themselves from the sun rays. Spend a day searching Sol Invictus. Okay? So it's either a man with a warrior look of determination with the solar rays, or it's actually the sun looking menacing and like burning the land. This is summer. This is war. This is Sol Invictus on his horse of war, right? Well, when you burn the land, you scorch the earth. Oh, ooh, shit! I might have to come up with a better way to set up this IG live stream. Sorry about that, y'all. Ooh, shit! Oh my gosh. Damn. Anybody on here know what scorched earth means? Talk about, like, if you're an activist, if you're military, do you know the term or the phrase scorched earth? Do you know what it means? We revolutionaries got it wrong, by the way. We always thought it meant like a activist strategy to like make sure that our propaganda is out far and wide, or we're doing like renegade acts of propaganda, like taking posters and going all night and like putting the posters up everywhere you ain't supposed to put the posters. We called that scorched earth. But I always learned as an activist what scorched earth was like, to leave no area unaddressed. As an activist, you put your propaganda out, right? But Ashara Spirit says dead earth or some. I'm talking specifically about the phrase scorched earth as developed as a military strategy. It was first used in Rome, by the way. I didn't know that until this week. It was first used, scorched earth was first used in Rome. And what a scorched earth campaign meant was that if you were in battle, if you were in war, and it didn't matter if it was soldiers or if it was civilians, if they were a part of the opposition, a scorched earth campaign meant that when you defeated an enemy, you made sure to leave everything burnt so that they could not regroup. That meant so scorched earth included the burning of their food supplies, their homes, whatever. It was literal. Burn everything so that they don't have the materials, the goods, the food, anything like that they can recoup. And scorched earth also included poisoning the water sources. Did y'all know that? I didn't know that. And this article that I read about the history of scorched earth literally said that the poisoning of water of the enemy was a primary component to destabilize the enemy so that they didn't have the opportunity to regroup and recuperate. No food, no water, or poisoning the water in a way to destabilize them. Did y'all know that? So when I'm telling you war in the summer, scorched earth in the summer, and then the next house or phase is famine. Do y'all hear me? Listen. The next phase, the next house, the next season is famine. If the conqueror has done this right, if he's executed war right, he can starve out what's left of the opposition. Feel me? Then, after a certain period of starvation, annihilation in the month that you should be harvesting. You understand? Then in the winter season, in the dark horse season, in the dark horse season, death is a guarantee. This is a metaphor for the death season in the goddess worshiping traditions, where the leaves die and the trees appear to die and the animals go underground, so they appear to die and all of this shit. But this is the male version. This is the male inversion of goddess worshiping society's story. Now, this is Sol Invictus as the male. This is Sol Invictus as the conquering sun. Oh. This is Sol Invictus. As this whole story told in the Revelations, right? About what is to come. When the sun, the sun, moves from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. But there's a caveat. In evangelical Christianity right now, there is this articulation that I still haven't understood quite yet. Like, I'm on the precipice of it, but they talk about Jesus being the last Adam. Jesus is, they say, the Adam who was, quote, created by God in the Garden of Eden is the first Adam, and that Jesus is the last Adam, right? Adam. And so what comes next, right? They say it is the return of Jesus to rule a kingdom on earth for 1,000 years or some bullshit like that. And that's supposed to be the end of the story, aka the end of the book. Hold on. Cut it out. No. I'm not carrying on. Ooh, water right here. Cut that shit out. Ooh. So, all right. Now this is the story. And so why does the book end? Why ain't they just keep writing? Why they just keep writing, like adding books? If Jesus still had not come back yet, why they didn't just keep writing books? Why'd they stop it with the revelations? Right? And so I was thinking about this when I'm reading the story of Constantine and Sol Invictus. It's Julius Caesar, is Sol Invictus, and this and that and this and that. The Sol Invictus, and what it represented in the day-to-day life of people who lived in Rome. I'm talking about judiciously. I'm talking about how laws were made. I'm talking about every aspect of daily life happened politically, happened, legislatively, happened still under the auspice of a godhead called Sol Invictus, Emperor, Caesar, and on and on and on. Because they had the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, the Roman Kingdom, where it was like monarchy, and then the Roman Catholic Church becoming synonymous with state power. We're the Holy Roman Emperor, where the Emperor and the Pope become one. Okay? Sol Invictus, right? This is the sun in his phase as the conquering sun. So you got the baby sun, you feel me? The newborn baby son, you feel me? From the virgin, that life cycle. Then you've got the conquering son, this life cycle, right? And then, so there's another caveat. Because the conquering son, the young, handsome rider on the chariot, this and that, is one personification. Then there is another. And we are living that right now, and we can see it, yet cannot explain it. This portion of the Sol Invictus life cycle is complete, by the way. Okay? What we are in right now, and I am convinced we have been in since I want to say I don't know yet. I'm still having to work out that math. I don't know yet. But the phase that we're in now is the last stage of Sol Invictus. And this is where shit gets interesting. Then I'm gonna actually, you know what? Before I even go there, let me show you the contrast. So the Sol Invictus that we have been confronted with all this time has been the SUN as the sun, the SUN as the SON, as the sun, right? Then what about, because our default has been, and I have been guilty of this, our default has been that anytime we talk about the goddess, we automatically assume, superimpose, that the goddess is always emphatically synonymous with the moon and Venus. That's it. We don't ever really talk hardcore about the SUN as the goddess, okay? As a phase of the goddess, right? And so, if we're that same diagram that I just showed you, in those stages listed in the Revelations, right? Okay. Ooh, fuck. Hold on. Hold on. It is important for me to do this this way, because I tell y'all every time I talk about it, like these fucking dials I go on, when I talk about it and I'm working shit out loud, shit starts to connect that didn't when I'm just quiet and taking notes, right? Okay, hold on. So we said the four horses in Revelations represented conquest, war, famine, and death. All right. Okay. So that is, what chapter is that in? What let's see. It is Revelations 9. Okay. Okay, it said, okay, so Revelations, the letters to the churches, the seven souls. Lord, y'all, okay, it's too much. It's too much. Let me tell you what else just occurred to me in this moment. So Revelations 1, okay, this just occurred to me in this moment. Revelations 1, number 8. So chapter 1, verse 8. That chapter says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, thus saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Right? Listen. Then it goes down to verse 10 and says, I was in the spirit of the Lord's day and heard behind a great voice as of a trumpet saying, again, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book and send it unto the seven churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. Right? Listen. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot and girt about the pap. Listen, y'all, God damn it. Listen. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw seven golden candlesticks. And in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle. What's paps? Y'all know what paps is? Huh? Anybody? Does anybody know what paps is? What paps means? When they talking about this one who is like unto the Son of Man. Huh? Anybody? That's why I'm telling y'all, man, language, etymology, everything is hidden in plain sight. Everything. Do you know what PAPS is? This never even occurred to me till now. When it's talking about the Alpha and Omega. And I was about to go off on a tangent about the Alpha and Omega. But before I even go off on to the tangent, it says a couple of verses later what I'm about to go off on. It says that in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle. Child, paps is titties. Paps is boobies. Paps is titties. Is what they used to call titties back in the day. Paps is titties. The Son of Man with titties. Okay? They say, the Son of Man clothed with a garment all the way down to his foot and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle. A girt. What man you know wear girdles except drag queens? What man you know wear girdles? Still mean today what it did then. It say about the paps. His head, and his hairs were white like wool and white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Blah, 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 blah. But why did I go off on this thing on verse 1? Chapter 1, verse 8, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the ending. Saith the Lord is not written in red. See, right? So the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the ending, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. Do you know what that comes from? That is older than the Bible, by the way. It didn't occur to me until just now. That is damn near a word for word quote. I wish I had. Let me see if I can find a picture because I'm having a whole motherfucking moment. Where would that be? Maybe here. Hold on. Damn. I'm having a whole moment. That's why when we were young Christians growing up in the South, hardcore Christians, and some of you will know about this, you are told to forsake the secular world. We could not read books that were not written by a preacher, children's books, whatever books, didn't matter. If it wasn't written by somebody in the church, by a preacher, by a minister, we could not, quote, read secular books, listen to secular music. Why? Because to be exposed is to expose the fallacy that lies within this shit here. Hold on. All this time. Where's she at? All through here, ain't no telling. Let's see. We'll look up the first one, 83. Trying to see if I can find a picture of her. But this quote, I'm gonna tell you where it comes from. I might not be able to find it. I might have to circle back later and find a good picture to show you. But it comes. Nope, not there. What else? 83. 87. Nope. There's a lot about her in here. Hold on. 87, 94. Nope. And this is probably gonna be a an undertaking. I'm probably just gonna have to get y'all out of suspense. Hold on. Let's see if it's something later. 207. Let's try that. 207. Yeah, I think this will do. Yeah. Yep. I think this will do. Let's see what this says. Okay. I think this is gonna be the one. Hold on, let me look up one more. Oh shit. I forgot I had a 2:00 meeting. God damn it. I'm gonna have to get up off of here because this I can't bypass. Actually, let me just text her really quick and see if we can do 2:30. Oh shit, my phone is about to die anyway. Damn it. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Sync it to some 16. Uh, 16. Yeah. Oh. And 34. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna do. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, let me bookmark that. Okay. I'm not gonna hold y'all in suspense any longer. That quote, almost verbatim, is a quote made by Isis Hathor, And there's a famous image of her um, in the esoteric school of thought. There's a famous image of her that is she has a very thin veil over her face. She has a sistrum in one hand. She has a sistrum in her left hand. She has a sheath of she has a sistrum in one hand. I forget what she has in the other hand. She has over her breasts are bare, but over one breast is a bundle of grapes, and over the other breast is a bundle of wheat. There's a bundle of wheat, right? She has a girdle on. The girdle is synonymous with the constellation Orion. She as Orion, and the girdle as Orion's belt. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you hear me. Because even as I got caught up on that passage when I was looking for something else, it's still related. We only listen. Even when we talk about astrology, even when we talk about the characters, in any system. So I've been teaching y'all about astrology as through the Ifa perspective, right? Like Pluto is Oya and this and that and this and that, right? But we still very strictly identify the luminaries, the planets in our solar system that we can see with the naked eyes, and all of the constellations and all of their stories. We treat them as fixed. We treat them as fixed. The stories are fixed. The mythologies are fixed. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Listen, even the stories that we have been telling, I have been telling you, and I will walk through this shit from the Great Cosmic Mother all the way on. Even the way I tell the story is the way we learn the story, whether the old way or the new way. Once we start learning about the goddess, we like, see, they stole that, and they stole this, and they stole that, and see how they stole this, and see how these men, they ain't got no creative bone in their body, so they just steal everything, and then give it a new name, and give the goddess a sex change. And you see how we've been saying that the whole time. I was wrong. I was wrong. It is not theft. What it is inversion. There is a distinction that has to be made, because every last one of these mythologies, every story, every god, every goddess, every one of the myths about their interactions with one another, we get so mad all the time because we like, Zeus, he was a son of a bitch. He was just all over the place, going to and fro, raping and shit, you feel me? Turning himself into animals or into the mist, into some shit just so he could take advantage of some human woman. No. The stories, regardless of how triggered we become by the stories, the problem is that the stories are metaphors. The stories are metaphors superimposed on the luminaries to help explain to us where we are in time, what is happening in time, what are the potential highs and lows, goods and bads that can happen with each transition into a phase in time, our collective life as humanity on our specific planet. Not just astrology as us, the individual, learning to see these stories as synonymous to us as a single entity, Earth, as a single entity, us on Earth, as a single entity, and our transition through time as we understand it from our perspective, peculiar to us on this planet. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so to say that all the men, you feel me, stole all the goddesses' iconography and hid her in plain sight is an oversimplification. Because when we see ancient stories that were written 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, about these stories that we think are strictly the past when there is no such thing as a strict past, that they were telling stories based on their observation of the universe and understanding time. Understanding, like, for example, we see these stories all the time about these, we call them weirdo white boys, the guys that are always on these weird channels talking about the ancient aliens, you feel me, the ancient aliens, and how they be going to all of these sites, typically colored people sites, you feel me, they go to the Mayan pyramids, and they go to the they go to the Egyptian pyramids and the Asian pyramids in Southeast Asia, and they start looking at symbols, hieroglyphs, symbols chiseled into the walls that they tell you is the proof that there were ancient aliens, right? Like they will show you people that look like ancient scuba divers or ancient space, like astronauts from Earth. They'll say, like, look, this look just like an astronaut suit. You can see the dude's face, and he got a bubble on his head, and this and that, and this and that, right? And I was telling y'all a story about a month ago where I was just in the mirror doing my hair, but I was looking in my eyes too long. And I don't know if anybody else experiences that when you look in the mirror too long and something emerges other than just you, right? So I'm always looking up or down or side when I'm doing my hair or doing, my makeup or whatever, because there is a moment where I look too long in my eyes and something else is coming through. You feel me? And I ain't trying to be in ceremony all the time. So I'm in my hair and I'm doing my hair, and I had like a bun on my head when I came and did, when I came and did the live, and I was like, y'all, I just got to tell y'all something. I just got to put it out there and be done with it. I was like, but when I called it my doomy doom, my little doomy doom. I said, I had this moment, man. It was so deep. It was so striking. I said, I was standing in my bathroom, looking in the mirror, doing my little doomy doom. And it was so quick, but it was so deep and like deep. And I said, so in my house right now, I have like 2, maybe 3 little statues of the Buddha. But the Buddha statues that I have in my house, all 3 of them, are what they call the female incarnations of the Buddha. I've always had them because it was always just me and my baby. And they said that the female incarnation of the Buddha is a protector of women and children. So these statues I've had since Morgan was a little girl. I said, and so in this moment where I'm in the bathroom doing my little doomy doom, doing my little pile up on top of my head, for out of nowhere, seemingly, I had this, it was like I was looking into the past in this mirror, looking into this past. And at the same time that I'm looking into this past is looking back at me like it's real time. I said, and what I saw in this moment was me God damn it, son of a bitch. Okay, this shit is too much. All right, so I said, so while I'm put my hair up in a little doomy doom, what's gonna look just like the little bun on top of the head of my female Buddha up here, right? I'm doing my little doomy doom, piling all my shit up here and twisting it around. And while I am looking in the mirror, I am looking at women in a cave chiseling a sitting female Buddha, looking at me, chiseling a Buddha with a doomy doom on her head. I said, it was so clear. I was like, okay. And I shook it off. I was like, But it stayed with me all day. I said, okay, we have always been taught that time is a bunch of horizontal lines with marks on it. This event happened. This event happened. This event happened. This event happened. This event. And that time, the future goes on forever, and the past goes back forever. The future goes forward forever, and the back goes past forever. Not what is in our face, not what is in our body. That the past, the present, and the future is the infinity symbol. Not metaphorically, actually. And what do they say that is significant about the infinity symbol or the Ouroboros, right? Is that you do not know where time begins and time ends, or there is no end and there is no beginning. That's what they just said in the Revelations. It says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. What did it say? Hold on. What did it say? It said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the ending, which is the beginning and the ending, which is, and which was, and which is to come. That's what it say. So I'm sitting here having this moment looking at these women who look like witches or who look like monks sitting in a cave while they're chiseling a big old black out of ebony, a big old black female Buddha with the same doomy doom I'm wrapping up on top of my head in real time, and I'm looking in the mirror in my goddamn bathroom and seeing reflected in the mirror is these women looking at me while they chiseling the doomy doom. Right? I said, okay, all right. Time. And you know what? Who was it that came up with the whole concept of was it Einstein maybe? That came up with the concept of like folding space-time. He was like, maybe we got this is an oversimplification. Do not judge me. I don't study him, have not studied him. So anytime any of these, quantum physicists and astrophysicists, and I ain't studied that shit. I just have recollections of certain things that I will have to go back and pay attention to. This is my very rudimentary explanation. He say, we got it all wrong. Instead of trying to take big, clunky metal instruments to go from point A to point B, that is, 350,000 light years away, is there a way that we can fold the space-time continuum and go from point A over here to point B that is 360,000 light years away and go there in an instant? Wormhole theory, right? Okay. So this time travel as the way we understand theory of relativity. Thank you, Samara. It's been a long time, right? But what does that mean, right? When you're looking at the universe, because this is what our universe looks like. This is what our Milky Way looks like. This is what the Milky Way galaxy actually looks like in real time. You understand? And so when we look at the Milky Way galaxy and our ancient ancestors who were obvious studiers of time, to the point that the Mayans, and we need to talk about the Mayans on another day, but the Mayans' entire calendar, how they came to the conclusion of the quote end of the calendar, and everybody's like, oh my God, it's December 21st of 2012, right? But they did not have a solar calendar. Their calendar, just like ancient Egyptians, was centered around their rotational relationship with Venus. So that too, this whole concept of time and the splitting of the deliberate patriarchal splitting of time to create global confusion. Because even when we're talking about lunar calendars, we never talk about pre-patriarchal peoples whose entire agricultural cycle, their life cycle, their birth cycle, everything that they understood was based on a Venus-Earth relationship where Venus was the center of their calendar. How does that translate? This translates the way I'm about to tell you. Okay, so this is our universe, but this is also infinity, because the universe is constantly doing what? Spiraling in and out of itself, round and round and round and round. And we is the earth doing the same thing, do, right? So our understanding of the past, somebody taught us that. Our understanding of the future, somebody taught us that. I'm convinced we're going backwards in time. And I can't explain it. It's just a feeling that I have, and I'm just waiting for the information to match the moment. I am convinced that we are actually moving backwards in time, and that is why patriarchy has always got the drop on us. They seem to be 25 to 50 years ahead of us all the time. Oh, they're just things that stand out. I'm like, we're actually moving backwards in time. And because we think the past means over, we think the past means end. We do not understand the concept of where we are in time, which is why we are able to be taken advantage of. I digress. What is the present in this little diagram? This could be the past, this could be the future, this could be the future, this could be the past. But guess what? This crossing point right here is always now. It's always now. It's always present. That crossing point is always now. Okay? It's always the present. All right? This is going to be important because what is the indication of the present? It is the crossroads. In every tradition, it's the cross section, it's the crossword, it's the X marks the spot. That little section right there is always now. What else is right there? What else is right there? Your mama's vagina, that's right there. Her vaginal opening, that's right there. Yep. That is the point of known to or seen to unseen, or unseen to seen. That moment when you are still unseen and you become seen, your head becomes revealed. That's that right there. That's that right there. Yes. Can color box say balance 3 above and 3 below? Okay, you want to make it like that, which is okay. What's that right there? If we want to do what Can color box talking about right there, what's that right there? What's that right there? That is the heart. That is the crossroads. That is the heart. What's the crossroads of the heart? The crossroads is the communicator, the messenger, like every psychopomp is. Mercury as a psychopomp, a shoe as a psychopomp, a legba as a psychopomp, Oya as the psychopomp, Saturn as a psychopomp. What do I mean, Saturn? The Grim Reaper as the psychopomp. All of them occupy this space right here. Why? Because they are the messenger between heaven and earth. These are called your earthly chakras. These are called your heavenly chakras. And the space in between where your heart lies is called the horizon, the place where Horus rises. Horus rises, or sun sets. Whatever your perspective is. Right? So whether it's inside you or whether it is inside you, the horizon, or whether it's your actual earth and your actual sun. The problem is, the other thing about time is that not only were 5 days added to every year during Constantine's reign, but also up until Constantine's reign, the new day, well, up until, I don't know exactly when it started. It was Rome that did it, but up until Rome, I want to say it's Constantine. Up until Rome, but I have a sneaking suspicion it happened in other places too, like with Akhenaten and Kemet. I'm convinced too. But yeah, let's do that. Okay. So, but it was cited in one of the many things I was reading this week was that it was at the Council of Nicaea where it was made official that the new 24-hour day would begin at sunrise. I have that backwards. At sunrise is in the east. So at sunrise, this would begin the 24-hour day. Up until that point, and I'll color this one red, I think. Up until that point, in most of the known world, up until that point, let me do one more thing. Yeah. Up until that point, the new 24-hour period began at sunset. But in changing the story and the relationship of Sol Invictus to permanently move Sol Invictus from a pagan iconography, yeah, it definitely happened in Rome, to finally once and for all sever all ties of the conquering son born in the flesh, severing him from any iconography and familiarity with the pagan world. Everything about the story had to change, right? It didn't start with Rome, but Rome completed the process, because now, instead of the sun setting, right, starting the new 24-hour period like you do, now it is the birth of the sun that takes precedence. Not only does the quote birth, Horus rising, that's how you know it came before Rome. They just completed the process. Horus rising, horizon, right? Horus rising, Horus born again every day, right? When he peeks from out of the darkness. Horus rising, the birth of the sun, which correlates with your Jesus birth story, right? When the sun rises and this begins the new day, they don't just make this the new day. Even in Kemet, what is the story between Set and Horus? Is that they are warring brothers. They are constantly fighting to see who's gonna seize the day, right? That's the later story told to us, is that Set is the evil personification of all the scary things lingering in the dark that come and get you and shit, right? Set is the evil dog-faced. God damn. Set is the evil dog-faced. I gotta go charge my phone. This girl is. Let me charge my phone. Okay. Set is the evil dog-faced lurker of the night, looking to cause chaos and brigandage and this and that and this and that, right? and Horus is the savior, light of the world, right? We welcome the birth of the sun savior, And so all the way up until this week, I've not heard it said anywhere else. It may exist somewhere else. I have not heard it said anywhere else. Even when we get all like Afrocentric and wanting to learn about Kemeticism and Kemet and the deities of Kemet, this, that, still, even in all of that, I've never heard this. What I'm about to tell you right now. We have been hyper fixated on the birth of the sun. And in that hyperfixation of the birth of the sun, the splitting of the sun against himself, that this is his good self and this is his bad self, right? That when he disappears behind the horizon, when the sun sets and he, quote, goes into the underworld and shit, and the underworld, just like in every other mythology, is synonymous with everything scary. It's where you get judged. It's when the evil come to get you. It's where the demons come out to play. It's where the demons eat your soul. Whatever the underworld in every mythological religious pantheon is synonymous with evil, darkness, despair, right? But if we're talking about time, right, and we're talking about how the time story was flipped upside down to where the new day started with the setting of the sun, then what does this mean when it gets dark? If the day started when it was nighttime, right? Then does it occur to anybody that it changes the nature of this story of the setting sun going into darkness and evil and this and that and this and that? What does this mean about the setting sun if this is the birth story of the day sun? It means that the setting sun is not synonymous with death. The setting sun is not synonymous with death. The setting sun is synonymous with the planting of a seed. See how that sun look like it's going into the ground? It's synonymous with the planting of a seed. And that planting of the seed into the underworld requires a certain amount of time in the 24-hour day before it is ready to be what? Born again. So everybody will start with the quote, born again of the sun savior of the day. But what is it born from? Is it born from death? That's why they got to tell you a story about resurrection. They got to tell you a story about resurrection so that you can bypass the birthing process, the pregnancy process. Because to ignore the pregnancy is to ignore the facilitator of the pregnancy. It is to ignore the mother of the born again son. Do you understand? So, and what happens when you are pregnant? What happens when the son is pregnant? He is fed he ain't got to do absolutely no work. He ain't got to chew. He ain't got to digest. He ain't got to, literally does not have to do anything for himself. He do not have to breathe for himself. Oxygen is even guaranteed. Ain't that something? You ain't even got to use your own lungs. Zero work that you have to do to get everything that you need to guarantee an outcome that is certain. Not only is it certain, it's mathematically precise in its certainty. It's a scientific guarantee in its certainty, the outcome. And so it changes the entire nature of the story. So once you can hide the mother in time, man, once you can hide the mother in time, Listen to what I'm saying. This is what I just showed you on this paper. This right here is what I just showed you on this paper. See that right there? See that? That's what I showed you. You see? You see? And so when I say, let me just say one more thing. So when I say, right, when we talking about this is synonymous with the seeding that has to happen before even the birth. The birth becomes everything. The seeding and the holding, the self-sacrificing deity that's always been made some male that commits suicide. Listen to me. Isn't that Jesus' whole story? Is that because he knew everything, he is God, so he saw that he was going to get killed. So is it actually murder or is it suicide? You feel me? The self-sacrifice, it's not me being funny, because every deity that has his same characteristics before him was considered a what? Self-sacrificing deity to guarantee the harvest. Self-sacrificing. You hear it over and over and over. Self-sacrificing. It is an outright inversion of the truly self-sacrificing, which is who? This woman, who is nameless and faceless throughout all history, who is seated in a process that for a millennia she did not understand. Hell, even before there were males, she was spontaneously impregnating. So something enters her body that kicks off a process. This is the self-sacrificing. Because she recognizes, I'm hungry more than I usually am, so I need to eat more. My ass is getting fat to the point that I can barely move. I'm uncomfortable. My motherfucking ankles hurt. I got football player neck. My nose is gotten bigger. Every part of my body has gotten bigger for this little thing that is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And then to top all of that, I got morning sickness. And then to top all of that discomfort of 9 months off, this mug is going to shift all my body organs out of their rightful place. Going to make me, for the last month of my pregnancy, only be able to sleep sitting up because it's making it so I can't even breathe. You feel me? Kicking and squirming and doing somersaults and all of that shit. And then at the end of at the completion of this whole process, they are going to produce a drug, the baby. That baby's lungs is going to produce a hormone that is going to stimulate contractions so strong that they literally feel like lightning bolts stabbing me in my uterus rhythmically. Is this why Satan is the serpent bearer? I mean, is the light bearer? Is this why they have Lucifer, aka Prometheus, with the lightning bolts as he is staging a rebellion against heaven, and there's lightning bolts in your contractions literally feel like lightning bolts. As your little baby that you have sacrificed your whole body for is now staging a rebellion against you to get free. And then in a fit of pain and ecstasy, pain that doesn't accompany fear, pain that doesn't accompany uncertainty, pain that doesn't accompany anything scary, a pain that is welcomed, a pain that is welcomed and accompanied by ecstasy. The greatest flood of oxytocin you will ever experience in your life is the moment that your child crowns, right? And in this dance of pain and ecstasy of what is to come, right? You waiting to meet the new God on earth, your child, you anxious to meet the new God, the new Messiah, that is each and every one of your baby mom, your mama's babies. So excited. I can't wait till the baby comes, right? And then the baby stages their rebellion, and their rebellion is successful. And how is that baby's rebellion successful? First thing that happens is the head comes out. And so that baby, his head is like this. And then they got to shift the baby around so they can get a shoulder out. But before that baby's shoulder is out, you see images in horror movies. I have seen images over the last 2 weeks of demons, devils that have a full body. All the demons happen to be black. All the demons happen to look like goats. All the demons black. And these demons have heads, smaller versions of their face hanging out of their crotchatorial area. Your story inverted into something diabolical and evil and horrifying. These demons walking with their legs out with a mini version of their head hanging out of the lower part of their body. That is you in your birth story diabolicized. I'm telling you, it's the basis of every single movie you've ever seen where somebody gets their head cut off, where somebody dies from getting their neck cut, where somebody dies from getting their neck broken, and it's everywhere once you see it. Everywhere you see it. I was just watching Harry Potter last night for another reason related to this, and it never even occurred to me. Nearly headless. What's his name? Nearly headless Nick, who is the ghost that works at the school, and his head almost successfully got cut off. And so every time you can see all the headlessness everywhere, because who gave you your head? That seemed to be just suspended from nothing. Who gave you your head? Your mama. In Ifa tradition, who gives you your head? What do they say about the head in Ifa tradition? That your head is where God lives. Your head is where your destiny lives. That's what Ifa says. Who gives you your head in Ifa? Oshun. It is said that Oshun is the only deity that determines the destiny of every human head and every Orisha. It's Oshun that gives both Orisha and humans their destiny. She gives them their head. Who is Oshun? Your mama. Who is Oshun? The guardian of the healing waters. What healing waters? Them that come out at your birth. Yup. Your mama is Oshun, bitch. Yup. So all of these stories are about the inversion of what happens in this sacred ceremony, that is this dance between you and your mama. Not only this dance between you and your mama, this is you and your mama. This is also a dance between your past and your future, the crossing of the threshold that everybody talk about. You got to cross the threshold. All the language is about you. All the language used in spirituality is about you. Whether you are the you born or you are the you who have birthed someone else. Every story is about you. Every word that they speak in spiritual esotericism is about this dance. This is the past. This is the future. What does that mean? This is where your ancestors at. You are the culmination of your ancestors. This is you. This is you unseen. And this is you crossing the threshold to become seen. You feel me? This is your ancestors, your DNA, coming together from both parents, you feel me, to make you the peculiar, awesome you that you are, to guarantee that they can live forever through you. You understand? When you die, I'm not going to say die no more. When you make your transition and you get seeded into the earth, just like Set, you get seeded into the earth. Let me tell you something else. I know all this shit is a lie, but let me tell you something else. The Bible says something about how in the end days, you feel me, all the dead bodies in Christ, you feel me, will come up out the ground, You feel me? And will come up out the ground, and God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. God damn it. When I say we have been done a number on. God damn it. So we was talking about the soul Invictus as the male conquering son. Let me go ahead and finish this analogy with the female soul Invictus and see how the story changes. Let's see how the story changes. So we're going to call this the female soul Invictus. Okay. The invincible, the unconquerable, right? And these are her seasons. Might need to change the start of the seasons. You feel me? Because what are we saying about Set? That when the sun goes behind the horizon, it is like seeding a new being, right? And so, nope, that would still make sense to do it because spring, I got to learn agriculture over. Don't you do a lot? I guess it depends on where you live. We'll just keep it simple for right now, but I'm having a thought. All right. So we said that under the male soul Invictus, right? It is the conquering son who what? The story is that he conquers the tomb. Conquers the tomb, right? But the Jesus story, now let me not get that deep either. So we got so instead of conquering under the goddess, the story is going to be what? What do we say? What else do we say about the spring? What else do we say about the spring? Okay. What else do we say about the spring? Somebody tell me what we say in general is peculiar about spring. Come on, y'all. What do we say about the spring? Y'all are killing me right now. I ain't trying to be complicated. Basic. What do we say about the spring? That's y'all being real simple right now. Come on now. Tell me some of the sayings that we say about spring. What? April showers bring May flowers. Right? That's what we say about, thank you. That's what we say about the spring. Well, what do May flowers bring? Huh? Birds and bees. Right? What do we say about the birds and the bees? The April showers, it might be rain or it might be them kind of showers. Like your little jizz. You feel me? Right? Because you've been inside, you feel me, for 3 months. Been inside because it's been cold outside. It's been dark outside. The days are short. You feel me? But when it gets warm and the April showers come and the flowers start to bloom and the quote, birds and the bees, could be literal birds and bees, but it could also be birds and bees. You feel me? Them birds and bees. You feel me? Okay. It's the seeding season. It's the seeding season. Once it ain't cold outside no more, you go right to work. You go what? Prepping the soil, planting the crop, and dropping them seeds in the soil all the way across, whether it's agriculture or whether it's booty. Spring is synonymous with getting busy. Gonna have a little talk about the birds and the bees, right? It's the seeding season. Right there. So they say Jesus was, quote, resurrected in the spring, right? And he was resurrected, the warring conqueror who conquered the tomb, right? that he, quote, rose from the dead. He wasn't born, he rose from the dead in the spring. And we say that under the female soul Invictus, the sun is in his seeding phase, planting season. You feel me? Easter rabbits. There you go. Bounty. Titties. Because if you talking about Easter, you got to be talking about Ishtar. She had about 1,100 boobies. She had about 1,100 boobies. You feel me? And so, and the rabbits, which were so prolific in their creating of offspring that for the longest time, rabbits were thought to be spontaneous procreators. They thought that all rabbits were born females because they had babies so fast, nobody ever caught them. All they caught them doing was having babies. For the longest time in the ancient world, they thought that all rabbits were females. Okay? So you got Mayflowers, April showers, you feel me? You got, what else you got up in here? You got the bunnies, you feel me? And then underlying all of that is Ishtar. Okay? So that's the seeding. So as opposed to the conquering, right? The conquering sun, yeah, conquering like warrior, but also conquering because the Jesus story is that he conquered the tomb, that he was dead in the spring and rose from the dead. Okay, so this is an inversion. Death is synonymous here, and that's why I'm convinced they continue to call the April of this season from the spring equinox through to the summer solstice, especially Aries or April. They always say is a war god. I said, why do they keep calling Mars a war god? Why do they keep saying Aries is like warrior energy? The motherfucker had to be a baby before he was a warrior. Where that story at? In every modern tradition, Ogun, the warrior, Shinong, the warrior, Aries, Mars, the warrior, like the motherfucker was never born, just appeared boring. That is why, is because it is a direct inversion of Sol Invictus female for eons before the birth of the first son. That's so keep going. What do we say the next one was? War in the summertime. Right? You said war in the summertime. Damn. War in the summertime. So this is spring. And this is summer. So we said it's war. So let me see what we said about this dude. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. So summer is the season of the heart. Summer is the season of the heart in TCM, in Chinese medicine. Would the opposite of two things clashing together be two things exploring different directions? Clashing is not the right word, because what we're getting to, so I'm saying the females, okay, so for the sake of this discussion, we're going back. Before Sol Invictus in his personification as male, what was the story of the sun, the sun, in this seasonal cycle as female? Because we know there are deities that were the female personification of the sun. Sekhmet was a female personification of the sun. Was it Parvati? Parvati was the female personification, the pre-Abrahamic religious iconography of Parvati was she sitting on top of a lion. There are so many goddesses who Because like I said, when we talk about goddess society and goddess worship and shit like that, it's like our default is automatically to default to, okay, well, the moon, right? Like that's our default. Our default is to like hyper personify goddess energy or matriarchal history with lunar centered worship. And what I'm saying is this shit is teaching us that there is nuance, that the sun used to be the icon of the female, of the goddess. There was a period of time where the moon was considered the personification of the male. I gotta close this out. I can't put this girl off any longer. I want to keep going because I want to complete this thought. But this shit, I'm gonna come back. Because this shit, we got to finish out this cycle. I'm going to tell you how it relates to why this Bible is talking about the goddess Isis, right? Because that's what that scripture that I just read to y'all is about. It's about Isis, right? And then these 4 horsemen of the revelations not being 4 men on horses, 1 male on 4 horses, in a chariot, driving through the seasons of his life as a personification. The sun as male being the face in history that we can point to. That's why every single solitary soul Invictus that has been a man has adhered to this same program, including your current president, who I'm telling you, there are words, whole phrases that he has said out of his mouth verbatim, literally word for word, but because you don't know them and you don't see the past present in the moment, you hear what I'm saying? Because you don't see the past present in the moment, and these motherfuckers literally performing out a play that is very old and has won them everything that they've needed up until this moment. It was like, why rewrite the script when the script has worked for so long and so consistently? And they don't leave no stone unturned. Literally giving you a Gemini president who has his ascendant as Leo. He who is born in a war phase in our time in the United States of America. He who has orange hair, so much so that y'all call him that orange guy, that orange guy, that orange guy. Like, it does not matter as a personification of the soul Invicti. So much so that so many of the past emperors, Caesars, popes, kings literally play out the play to ensure they have red hair, to ensure. I'm telling you, right? So here, the conquering son playing out his phases in his different faces. His face as innocent child born from a virgin, to his conquering self, conquering lands and shit, to his current self, which we haven't even gotten to yet because I wanted to show you the contrast with the female. His current self is his dying self. His current self is his dying self. I'm talking about the male soul Invictus. His life is ending. His life cycle is ending. That is why he is called the last Adam, Jesus. It is because he, as an old man, he as Babaluaye and Ifa, he as Yahweh in Judaism, he as Muhammad, he as the old-faced, he as Santa Claus, bitch. He as who else? He as Charlton Heston playing Moses, because Moses was considered one of the Adams, by the way. So he as a white hair, white beard, old man Charlton Heston as Moses. He as all these old ass bastards that live in the Senate and run this motherfucking government. He as the old man entering his dark years, meaning he is dying, his transitional years, he as Donald J. Trump. How old is this motherfucker? 80, 88? Is that how old he is? 88? Not just him, he, Sol Invictus, is your beloved, what that Biden playing the character. I kept telling y'all, stop calling these motherfuckers feeble. Stop calling them senile. Stop talking about how they so old they just can't think right and shit like that. Saint Lazarus is syncretized with Baba Luwaye. He is syncretized with who else? But how do they show him? They always show Saint Lazarus. They always show Baba Luwaye. They always show the Grim Reaper. They always show these male personifications of the old face of the soul Invicti with a goddamn cane or crutch, hobbling, old and crickety with their back all crickety. Start searching images of Sol Invictus old, Sol Invictus the father. Do it. You'll see old. You'll see long white hair, long white beard and shit. And you will also see rays that are sun rays that are beaming so bright they threaten to kill everything. Now let me go into this meeting. I'm gonna come back because this shit is blowing my mind, even as it's just stuff coming together that has been pieced out over this last week. But I'm gonna come back after I get something to eat and talk to this person. And in the meantime, so I'm gonna do it. Let's see, it's 3:00 now, so I'm gonna probably come back at around 6. So make sure you tell other people to come, tell people to log in and shit. Like, yo, this thing is happening and this shit is off the chain, and make sure you tune in or whatever. Like, throw a listening party or watch party or some shit, and make sure people are ready to donate too. Okay, cool. I will see y'all in about 2-3 hours. Peace. Thanks for hanging in through all these weird ass technical difficulties. All right. Thank you for the donation, Goddess Divine. All right, I'll see y'all in a few hours.